My sister-in-law licked my face and now my brother is not talking to me. I am 22M and my brother is 28M. He's been engaged to his fiancée for a few months now. She is 24. My brother's fiancée is your typical spoiled party girl, and TBH so is my brother. In the last year or so, my brother and I have had a strained relationship. This is mostly due to differences of opinion when helping take care of our mom, who is struggling with some PTSD anxiety. She got held hostage by a man at her job, is still recovering and not back to work yet. For some context, my brother is a very impatient and opinionated person who struggles to see things outside his own perspective. He doesn't have a good grasp on mental health. He is easily persuaded by what he reads online, gets caught up in conspiracy theories. And I noticed the pandemic kind of exacerbated all of this. I work as a paramedic and he's been arguing with me about thinking I know better than him ever since. I am adopted and my bio mom was of a different ethnicity, so we don't look like brothers. When he can't think of a way to win an argument he brings up the fact that I'm not her real son or his real brother. It wasn't always like this between us, which is sad. He's just not the same person and I'm not sure if it's work stress, life stress or what. I get that this post is going to be skewed by my perspective but I'll try to be objective when it comes to the conflict. My birthday was last weekend, when this happened. My brother's fiancée apparently had the idea to throw me a surprise party. Most of the people there were friends of my brother and the fiancée. Everyone was drunk. They made a bit of a show of bringing me out a cake and having me blowing out the candles. Before I did that, my brother's fiancée swiped frosting on her finger and put it on my cheek. I thought it was just her being nice and not trying to smash a piece of cake in my face. I blew out the candles and after I did that, his fiancée grabbed my face and licked it. Like, from my jaw all the way up the side of my face. I have no idea why she did this. We don't even have the kind of relationship where it would be funny. My brother's face changed, his demeanor changed, he became very withdrawn and irritable. They were seen, quietly, fighting and he ended up just leaving the party. I brought it up the next day to make sure he was okay and apparently the two of them made up. It's me he has an issue with. I don't know what she told him, but it seems as if I'm the one being made out to be flirting with her, wanting her, etc. Not even remotely true. I told him to leave me out of his relationship problems. It's his partner who disrespected him and embarrassed him. He's angry at the wrong person. I refuse to apologize. Apparently I am going to be out of the wedding unless I do. He's upset because I won't admit to my mistake. Well, I don't feel like I made one. Should I just do it for the sake of settling it? Normally I'm willing to be the bigger person but this is a false accusation I don't want attached to myself. Aita. Relevant comments. Has SIL been flirting or trying to make a move on OOP in the past? Reply. I never thought about it actually and nothing really sticks out. She's obsessed with K-pop and I am half Korean so she's made comments to me but I didn't interpret them as flirting. I thought she was just trying to be nice and didn't know how else to connect when I shared about the whole being adopted thing. When she's sober she is more awkward, shy. My brother lives with my mom so usually when I visit and we're talking. My mom and brother are around too and it's more of a family vibe. Commenter 1, your brother and his fiancée are behaving like children. If you apologize for this incident then it's likely that he will continue to treat you with disrespect. If he takes you out of the wedding he will have to explain the reason to others, which should prove embarrassing to him and his fiancée. Perhaps you should call him on his bluff. Regardless NTA. Reply, you know what, I'm not opposed to threatening him with that. Thank you. OOP should not attend his brother's wedding for peace of mind because of the brother and his fiancée's behaviors. Reply, this one hurts. I think I needed to hear it though. You're not wrong. I guess I'm just always trying to understand him and I need to stop doing that. Especially when he's not giving me that same kind of understanding. I thought we could get back to the relationship we had before but it's not looking like it's getting any better. Was Sayal likely to be drunk when the situation took place? Reply, she was drunk. My brother was drunk. I was drunk. Everyone was drunk. And there's video of it which shows it was all her. I agree there isn't anything to dissect. I don't understand why he's so mad at me. Update 1. After trying to reach out to my brother he finally came around and stopped ignoring me. He didn't want to talk about what happened but was willing to put it behind us. TBH, I think talking about it would have been healthier but I decided to let it go because he was so adamant. Then just the other day he came to me on his own and admit that he feels unsure about his relationship and is struggling to trust his fiancée ever since the incident on my birthday. I told him there's no rush to get married and he should take time to figure out what he's feeling. I didn't try to give any particular opinion because I feel like this is something he needs to figure out for himself. Also, I genuinely don't know what's going on between them. He still took what I said the wrong way somehow, and we ended up having an argument. He thinks I'm not happy for him and don't want to see him successful starting a family. I tried to walk away at this point in the conversation because no matter what I said it was just going to get misconstrued, but he didn't want to stop fighting. Somewhere in that, I finally learned why he's so mad at me these days. It turns out he's pissed that our mom paid for my tuition. I've been doing OT to pay her back. Clarification: if it matters, she doesn't actually want me to pay her back. It was a gift, but I'd like to pay her back slowly. My brother feels this money should have been given to him for his wedding, which I am no longer invited to. I don't really know how to fix things, but that's where we're at. Relevant comments. Did OOP's mother pay for his brother's tuition? Reply: she did, but he dropped out, so one point in his argument is that she gave him less. Commenter 1, NTA. She assaulted you. Your brother should be mad at her, not you. Probably best just to go NC, at least for a while. Commenter 2, NTA. Your brother is a jealous and his girlfriend is a creep. I doubt their relationship will last until the wedding, but if it does, I bet the wedding will be a drunken mess. You sound like a good person. Take care of yourself and your mom and leave your brother to deal with his problems. Hopefully one day he will grow up and want a better relationship with both of you. Commenter 3, NTA. And it's not you that has to fix things. It's him. Short of giving into his tantrum and giving him money, don't do that. By the way, you can't fix this. And if you start bending over backwards to make the man baby happy now, he'll know you will eventually cave and he will never change. The money was your mom's to give loan however way she wanted. If he has an issue with that, he needs to work it out with your mom because it was ultimately her decision. Him shitting all over you is wrong. Update 2. My mom and brother got into it over the weekend. I have accepted being uninvited for my brother's wedding, but our mom wasn't having it. She was trying to understand where his anger is coming from. The problem is, I don't think he knows, and having conversations where he's questioned about it just makes everything worse. I wasn't present. It's something my mom called me about. Apparently after his explosion at her, he stormed out into the cold, without shoes. She got worried. I have realized that I'm not the person he wants to see in those moments, or the person he wants to receive help from. I want to be that person, and I'll always be available in the background, but somehow I've become part of his problem. My presence only ever fuels his anger. For that reason, I told my mom to contact his fiancée, and she did. Fiancé brought him back to the house and my mom didn't mention the wedding, or anything else. She told me today that they've started talking normally to each other again. I've also talked to my mom privately. I've made it clear that I'm not attending and she should give up on having me there. She initially wanted to threaten her own attendance, but we decided that she should support my brother in hopes of leaving a line of communication with at least one family member. My mom is really heartbroken. I thought about contacting his fiancée, then decided against it. Reading a lot of the comments I received, many of you pointed out that I need to stop trying to fix things. Some people took it too far and wrote me violent little DMs because the last line of the previous update made them feel some type of way, but I've had people in the back of my truck say and do a whole lot worse. It takes a lot more than some words on a screen, but I get it. And I will acknowledge it actually, that I think that's one of my biggest flaws. The need to fix things. I won't get into why I'm like this. I probably need therapy of my own given the lengths I'll go to, and how maladaptive it sometimes gets. Anyway. Promise I'm not fixing this. As far as updates go, this is probably my final one. I'm bowing out of my brother's downward spiral. It's the only thing I can do for him right now anyway. The rest I will deal with personally in time. I came on here for some perspective and I feel like I've gotten that. So thank you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, this is a tough situation. It seems like you are trying to help, but sometimes people just need space. Sounds wise to step back and let him work things out himself. Recognizing your flaws is hard, but it's a step in the right direction. Hope things get better for your family. Reply, I hope he gets what he wants from not having me in his life. Whether he feels the same way or not, he'll always be my brother. OOP clarifies on details regarding if his mother knows about the licking situation. Reply, yes. She does. My brother told my mom the following. His fiancée was drunk and wasn't thinking. She got carried away. She thinks of me as a little brother. It wasn't sexual. I took advantage of that on my birthday, and apparently I have been caught trying to flirt with her in the past, but my brother chose not to say anything until now. The thing is, there is video of the incident a friend took that shows I was so impaired I had no reaction when she grabbed my face. It's clear from that video. It was all her. I showed that to my mom. I'm not sure what my mom thinks, but it would hurt if she doubted me. I've avoided asking her directly for that reason and just hope she knows me better than that and can see through this bullshit conflict. Edit, this fallout between us was probably inevitable. I just refuse to accept it. But I'm willing to admit now that I'm tired of holding on to my brother while getting burned. I don't know why he changed, what caused it, if it was something I did. Or something he is withholding, but all he does now is create some kind of problem with me and I have to prove to him, and often others, that it isn't like that. There is nothing I can do or say that he won't take issue with. I can't win, so he can spin this however he wants to help himself sleep better at night. I'm not participating anymore. I've tried to make this clear to our mom because I know she'll try to find ways to bring us together. I'm not going to give her a hard time and make her choose. I accept that I'm going to be the one who puts the distance between us. My brother lives with her and I don't want to complicate things between them. The end of the year holidays are fucked, but I'll just do a lot of OT and then avoid thinking about it by going somewhere warm for a vacation. New updates. I'm 22M. I work as a paramedic in NYC. The pay isn't great here and the call volume is overwhelming. I recently had a very traumatic call and I can't stop thinking about it. Last year I got scouted for modeling, which I did on the side but made only around $12,000. Not enough to quit my day job and that isn't necessarily my goal, but it helped me take on less OT. Other than that I've thought about becoming a flight medic for the significant bump in pay but all roads feel like they lead to further burnout. I'm constantly running on empty. Night shifts are brutal for me. I think about leaving my job all the time and yet I work so much that I am simultaneously locked in which leaves no room to think about alternatives. I try to convince myself it's just the weather. That spring is around the corner and as it warms up, I'll probably cheer up soon. Maybe this weight I have in my chest will lift, or at least become less heavier. I keep thinking of relocating to work the same job somewhere in the PNW. Or maybe another career. I have some savings set aside for a degree. Someone told me all my hobbies are too adrenaline heavy and maybe that's contributing something to the way I feel. I never saw it like that though. I also have a brother who struggles with addiction. He was recently diagnosed with BPD. He has had 2 overdoses in the last month and a half. His wife keeps finding ways to dissuade him from treatment programs. The second OD occurred on a day pass she was an escort for. I am no contact with my brother and his wife, and I'm low contact with my mom, who I have a good relationship with but she lives with my brother. Unfortunately, when my mom reaches out to me desperate for my help I feel like I have to respond. I don't know why I made this post, I don't even have a clear question to ask you guys, but I'm just wanting some kind of an objective outsider opinion, what you would do in my shoes. Relevant comment. Commenter 1, take some days off, honey. Don't feel bad, but love your brother from afar. That's what we have to do with addicts. Let him know you love him and want to support his recovery. Decide what, of your options, will be the most fulfilling and yet manageable. You are so young and you already seem to be killing it, maybe too much. Seasonal depression is a thing, I live in MN. The winters are long, even though this year has not been bad. If you want to move someplace with better weather, do it. Now is the time. You also aren't responsible for your mom, you can love her from afar if you need to. I guarantee you will be fine, I can tell we'll figure it out. But seriously, take some days off, okay? Reply, thank you. I think I need to learn how to love from afar. It's something I can't seem to figure out how to do. The responsibility to be there for them during a crisis feels so crushing. I'll consider taking time off. Maybe that's the only way I'll get some clarity. Aita for wanting to leave my family and move across the country, April 15, 2025, 9 days later. I've, 22M, been low contact with my mom for months now because I'm no contact with my brother, 29, and both him and his wife live with her. In an ideal world, I would be able to maintain a good relationship with my mom, but it's really hard to have that right now. My brother has had 2 overdoses in the last 2 months or so. He's spiraling so fast. Any attempts at treatment are rebuked by his wife but she'll show up at my door to cry and try to convince me to drive her around and go looking for him. He has tried to use my identity to commit fraud, luckily the activity got flagged by my bank. He also attempted to sign up on a gambling site using my information. He was so desperate for money around New Year's that he stole the battery from my motorcycle. My mom calls me in crisis all the time requesting for help in dealing with my brother. Sometimes I'll think she's calling just for me and I'll almost share something only to find out she was just making polite conversation before she could work up the courage to ask for my help. I work as a paramedic so between work and my family, it feels like I never get a break. I have never shared my feelings with them, or anyone really. I just know I'm reaching my limit. A friend of mine has encouraged me to move in with him and split rent. I told my mom when she found out I sold my motorcycle. She didn't take it well. She said I was their lifeline. She told me if I leave, I should be ready to live with the fact that I will be letting my brother die and that I'm abandoning them during a time of hardship. The thing is, I still want to go. Relevant comments. Commenter, yeah. You're the asshole. You're sitting here typing an essay about your limit like you're the first 22-year-old on earth to experience pressure. Meanwhile your brother's literally dying, your mom is begging for help, and you're writing a Reddit post trying to spin your escape plan into some noble self-care arc. Let's cut the victim poetry. You say your brother committed fraud. He's overdosing. He's spiraling. But here's what you don't say. What did you do to help before writing him off completely? You went no contact because you didn't want the discomfort of having a complicated family. You wanted mental peace. That's a luxury people in real families don't always get. You're a paramedic. You see people at their worst, and you help them. But when it's your own blood, suddenly you have limits. That's not strength. That's cowardice dressed up in therapy buzzwords. You want to move across the country? Fine. Just own it. Don't pretend you're the hero in this story when the reality is, you're bailing. You're leaving your mom with a drug addict and a manipulative wife. You're turning your back because it's easier than staying and having hard conversations. You're not a villain. But don't pretend you're not part of the problem. You're cutting the rope because you don't like how heavy it feels. So yeah, not for wanting peace, but for wrapping your emotional exit in a narrative where you're somehow the wounded protagonist while the people actually suffering get left behind. You want freedom? Take it. Just don't lie to yourself about who it costs. Reply, you're right, I did focus on myself in my post. I should have provided more details. But the absence of context doesn't mean you can just fill it up with your own assumptions. What did you do to help before writing him off completely? I've been trying to save my brother since I was 16 years old and he started using. I've detoxed him twice at home. The first time I did this, I was a 19-year-old EMT. I only recently stopped contact with him, for the first time in my entire life because it felt like no matter what I did, it just made him angry at me. For self-preservation and to limit the altercations between us and not stress out my mom, I chose to distance myself from him. But I still showed up, and still do, to every single emergency. I've tried to convince him to go into treatment, for years. I've gotten him connected to mental health services, support groups, counselors, various outpatient programs, you name it. He quits everything. I got a side job to make extra money so I could pay for rehab and anything else he needed towards recovery. I even paid for his gym membership for a year and he didn't stick with that either. He recently got married. His wife makes it difficult for me to get involved. It was on her escorted day past that he had his second overdose. I could say more but I'll just leave it at that. Hope some of this additional information helps. I'm okay with not being a hero. I never considered myself one. I don't know what about this post gave you that impression. Edit, if I missed something, just let me know. I can answer it. Thanks for your perspective. Since my mom said something similar. I kinda get it. If I didn't feel so guilty about wanting something for myself, I wouldn't making a post on this website. Commenter 1, NTA your mom saying you'll be letting your brother die is emotional blackmail. Full stop. That's not love or support. She's shouldering you with guilt dressed up as family obligation. I could bet her parenting, specifically her boundary stomping, is a partial factor that lead to your brother's substance abuse. And it's not your responsibility. You didn't choose your brother's addiction. You didn't ask to be the emotional punching bag for your mother's inability to set boundaries. You're not the one running from rehab or committing fraud. Don't become just another EMT saving lives while your own life quietly falls apart. You're 22, that's still so young to be carrying the emotional weight of an entire collapsing household. No one is built to live in that kind of pressure cooker forever, not even a paramedic. Moving away doesn't make you cruel. It makes you brave. You're not running from your family, you're choosing yourself for once. And honestly, that might be the first time in your life you've been allowed to do that without someone laying a guilt trip on your back. You can still love people and walk away. You can care without self-sacrifice. You can say, this isn't mine to fix, and still have a beating heart. It's not abandonment. It's self-preservation. You're not an addiction counselor, so yeah, it hurts. It always does when you're the one breaking the cycle. But the fact that you still want to go, after all that guilt's been thrown at you, that says everything. You know this is the right move. You just needed someone to tell you it's okay to follow through. Best of luck. Commenter 2, your mom is holding your brother over your head like a giant guilt knife. It's totally emotional blackmail and really messed up of her to do that. He is not your problem. He is his own problem to solve, and either he will or he won't. That's not your responsibility. Move, enjoy your life for once. Nobody knows how long this current situation is going to last, get the best out of it while you can. Stories number 2. Aita for explaining to my future SIL why her kids will never receive anything from us. I, 27F, have a brother, 33M, who has been dating his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years and he proposed a couple of months ago. Sarah has 2 kids from her previous relationship 8M and 6F. I would say that my parents and I are not very close to Sarah and her kids, but we are cordial and never had any problems before. My partner, bro and Sarah attended the Easter dinner at my parents' and that's when the drama happened. Sarah's kids were at their father's, so Sarah used this celebration to confront us about my brother requesting a prenup. Basically my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. This is something that we as a family discussed before and we all agree that only our children should receive assets or money from our inheritance. My brother is free to pay whatever he wants for his stepchildren out of his own money, but my children and his bio children will never have to share anything that our family has with them. Sarah claimed that we are being unfair and that we are treating her and her kids like some strangers instead of embracing them like family. She said that the normal and decent thing to do was for us to see her kids like my brother's kids who should have equal rights to any children they may have together. I told her sure, after she gets married to my brother she will become our in-law and her kids will be my brother's stepchildren, but this does not mean we have to share anything with them. I asked her, will my future kids receive anything from her parents or from their bio father's parents? She said no obviously, so I asked her then why would her kids be entitled to receive anything from us? Sarah said because they will be our family, so I told her that we have plenty of cousins that are also family but I don't go around wishing to share my inheritance with them. There was a lot more back and forth between us and Sarah was not letting this go. My brother asked her to stop because we were there to celebrate Easter, not to have this kind of conversation, but she kept on going saying we need to clarify it once and for all. I told her from where we stand everything is clear and it is only her who has a problem. She said we are greedy and cruel to some kids and I snapped. I told her to deal with it. She is free to work her ass off and gather assets to leave to her children, but we will never divide anything outside of our family and she should not expect her children to be our problem or burden to finance. I honestly feel she is very manipulative and is using my brother for what she and her kids can get from him, but that's my brother's problem to decide if this is the kind of partner he wants. I just want to know if I was too blunt in telling her the truth. Stories number 3. My roommate sent me a condescending checklist and then lost her mind when I stood up for myself. I, F22, live with a roommate, F27, who, frankly, barely cleans. I'm the one who's constantly wiping counters, taking out the trash, doing dishes, cleaning up after her dog when she doesn't, all while working full-time and trying to keep the peace. I don't nitpick, I don't complain every time I clean something up. I just try to do my part, and sometimes hers, so the place stays livable. But the one time she finally decides to clean, and by clean, I mean wipe the stove and toss out some trash, she texts me this long message while I'm at work. Not to have a conversation, but to give me a passive-aggressive list of reminders about wiping the stove after I use it, putting my drinks away, emptying the dishwasher before she needs it, and sticking to some decor-only counter rule that she mentioned once forever ago like it was a binding contract. She even made a weird point to say she cleaned out oil and asparagus in the trash, like that was some noble act that needed public acknowledgement. The message was condescending, and it honestly caught me off guard. I told her I got the message, and while I understood being overwhelmed, the delivery was unnecessary. I reminded her that I've been pulling my weight, and cleaning up after her and her dogs more than she probably realizes. I said if we're going to start keeping tabs, I'll just stop cleaning up her messes too. I also said her burnout isn't mine to carry, that we both live here, and I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells or be guilt-tripped just because I'm in the same space. She came back defensive, accusing me of overreacting, saying she was just asking me to pick up after myself, and called me a little girl for having feelings about how she talked to me. Then we ended up fighting in person, where she kept gaslighting me, telling me I was delusional, and twisting everything I said. I snapped and called her a bitch. Not proud of it, that part crossed the line, and I owned it. I sent her a respectful apology for the name-calling. I told her I shouldn't have said that, but I stood by the boundary I was setting. I let her know I wasn't going to keep going in circles, and that all I wanted was for us to live respectfully and decently, nothing more. Her response: "You fucked up real bad. You're going to want to bite your tongue next time, little girl. You extremely crossed the line beyond my boundaries. Keep your apology and stick it up your ass, delusional bitch. Don't stop going to therapy either." So, that's where we are now. I struck a nerve. I've been trying to be the adult, do my share, and not make everything a thing. But the one time I speak up and set a boundary, I'm suddenly the problem. She acts like I'm a monster for reacting to her disrespect, when all I've been doing is trying to live peacefully in a space we both pay for. I'm tired of walking on eggshells around people who can dish it but lose their minds when it's handed back to them. I'm not perfect, but I've been fair. I've tried. And now I'm just done. Thanks for letting me get that out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Any way to find a new place to live? Reply. My lease ends soon, and I already have my next apartment in mind. She threatened to end the lease now, but I can't afford it. And I'm not sure if she can either. Commenter 2. Ah, that's why. You guys are already planning to part ways. She can't deal with mild abandonment issues, so she picked a fight and dug in as hard as she could. Reply. I had a weird dream about her begging me to renew the lease with her face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Commenter 3. I had a roommate like yours. I tried cleaning after her and not cleaning after. Doesn't matter. She never changed. I ended up kicking her out, my house. I lost a good friend all because she wouldn't take responsibility for cleaning her messes and breaking everything in my house. Some people never change and it's best to get out. Reply. She's been like this since we moved in, so I realized quickly that there's no compromising with her. But I also love a clean space, so I do my part as much as I can. I'm just blindsided by the way she reacted and the words she used. Update. Hey everyone, first off, thank you so much for the love and support on my last post. I didn't expect it to get so much attention, and honestly, reading your comments really helped me feel less alone. Life has been chaotic, and I wanted to give an update on where things stand. A couple of days after the fight with my roommate, where she disrespected me after I apologized, I slowly started moving my stuff back into my room. One of those things was my Snapware Pyrex set from Costco. I had originally let her use it, but it's mine, and I always intended to take it with me when I moved out. Anyway, I found one of them in the fridge with some soggy chicken that had clearly been sitting there for days. It looked gross, so I tossed it. When she got home and realized I threw away her food, she got super mad and started loudly talking shit about me on the phone to whoever she was talking to. I ignored it and just went to bed. The next morning while I was showering and getting ready, she starts yelling at me asking where the trash bags are. I asked, which ones, because I had bought the last pack, and there was no way we had finished them. She starts gaslighting me saying they were hers from the shop, whatever that means. I was too tired for the drama, so I just gave her the trash bags and told her not to use my stuff anymore. She flipped and said I was unbearable to live with, that I should just leave, and that she wanted me gone. So, I said, you know what? Fine. I'll leave. Later that day, I went to the leasing office to explain the situation. They gave us 3 options. We both transfer to separate units. We break the lease early. I drop my name from the lease, pay a fee, and she shows proof, pay stubs, that she can afford rent on her own. Later that night, she texted me asking, do you want to leave or do you want me to? I said I'll leave. I told the leasing office and asked them to follow up with her for the pay stubs so we could move forward. That same day, I went to tour an apartment I had been eyeing. It was the exact unit I wanted, and I applied immediately. Fast forward to today, I got approved. I'm moving in tomorrow. Smiling face with smiling eyes. But here's where it gets messy again. A few days ago I asked the leasing office if they'd received her pay stubs. They said no, even though they'd asked her 3 times and she kept saying she'd email them. She never did. So today, I texted her again letting her know I'm moving out and that the leasing office still needs her pay stubs. She responds, I can't. I asked, what do you mean you can't? She says she can't send them or she can't afford it, which she never expressed that she couldn't afford it. I honestly still don't know what she meant. I reminded her this was the options he agreed to, and if she wanted to stay, this was what needed to happen. I told her again, I'm moving out. If you want to stay here, that's on you. Then she says, let's just break the lease then. I told her I can't afford that, which is why we agreed I'd just leave and she'd stay. She responds, I don't care about ruining my credit. I left her undelivered after that. Then 30 minutes later, she goes, I guess I'll have to leave too then. I honestly don't know if she's just being petty, playing games, or genuinely doesn't understand the situation. But tomorrow, I'm going back to the leasing office to sort it out once and for all. I feel stuck and frustrated, but I'm also so ready to get out of this toxic situation. Wish me luck. Any advice is welcome. Thanks again to everyone who's been following this journey, it means more than you know. Stories number 4. Aita for refusing to repay my ex-husband for the college tuition he paid for years ago. So for some background, my ex-husband and I ended things over 20 years ago. When our son was 2 he stepped out. At the time I was a stay-at-home mom and going to nursing school full-time. He was paying for my schooling. After he left I asked him if he would keep paying for my school so I could finish with no debt. He agreed, saying it was the least he could do. A few months after that he got his affair partner pregnant. Once she got pregnant she demanded he stop paying for my schooling. It was 1/5 of their income and she said that money needed to go towards their new baby. He refused and kept paying for the remaining year and a half I had left. Over the years I continued my education and now I'm a nurse practitioner. I do well for myself and I never remarried. On to the problem. My son called me and told me he and his wife are expecting. I was ecstatic. I asked if I could come over sometime during the weekend by and give them some things, his favorite stuffy as a child, a check, and some other small sentimental things. He said yes, so I went over earlier today. I came by and gave him everything including a check for a few $1,000s. For baby stuff, co-pays, the nursery, or anything else they may want. My son and his wife thanked me and told me the money would be very helpful. My ex-husband and his wife came over and little while later, they surprised them with dinner and didn't know I'd be there, and saw the check on the counter. My ex's wife asked about it and I said, oh well, I wanted to help out where I could, everything's so expensive nowadays. I was really just trying to be polite, but I don't think this is any of her business. This woman had the audacity to say, well, maybe since you have all this money now you can finally pay us back all that money you took when you went to college. I was dumbfounded. My ex has literally never brought up me paying him back. He's always said it was the least he could do for both me and our son. My ex has done very well for himself in his career. I didn't see how or why they'd need the money, so I asked them, do you guys need the money or something? And my ex said no, and she said, of course not, it's about principle. I told her I will absolutely not be paying them back for college tuition from over 20 years ago, especially when she ended up in our marital home while I was living in a small apartment barely making ends meet for years after I initially finished school. I've never been bitter or mean, I've always been civil since our kids are siblings, but my blood was boiling. I left shortly after that. According to my son, this has been a point of contention in their marriage. She's brought it up a few times over the years in front of him. And she's insisting to him that he needs to convince me to finally pay back what they're owed. The biggest issue is now that the whole damn family is involved. I got calls from 3 separate family members saying I need to get over myself and just pay it back. So Aita here. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, he created a mess. Did he pay alimony? Did he take it off his taxes? Reply, we didn't have any court-ordered alimony or child support while I was in school. He just paid for the school since it was so expensive. I'm not sure if he took it off his taxes, he just gave me the money every month. Once the divorce was finalized shortly after I finished school, we made arrangements for child support but no alimony. Commenter 2, tell her it was the adultery tax or that her husband was ensuring that his son would have a good life with either parent. NTA. Reply, this is exactly what my ex said. He wanted to make sure we could both afford things for our son. It was in a way a good investment for him because we went half on basically every activity he was in, his first car, and his college tuition. We definitely couldn't have done that if I only had a high school education. Commenter 3, NTA. You could be petty by donating the amount, in installments, to a charity that helps people earn their nursing degrees, and or the general medical field, in her name. Reply, this is a really good idea actually. Update. So first I want to clarify some things. Yes, it was our marital home, we bought it after getting married. I didn't fight so hard for it in the divorce for a few reasons, mostly that she was borderline harassing me about how they needed the house for their growing family. I also didn't want to deal with a longer and more drawn-out divorce, and it would have been if I fought for the house. Yes, he bought me out of the house, however it really wasn't much as it was late 2007. Most of it went towards credit card debt anyway. Another thing, when he was paying for my schooling we were still legally married. The divorce didn't finalize until after I graduated. There was no child support until after I graduated. There was never any alimony. I did live in the house while I was in school and they lived in an apartment. He paid all those bills including hers after she got pregnant. So his finances were tight at the time. The family that called weren't my relatives. They were my ex's and his wife's relatives. I thought they were family, they've since been blocked. On to the update. I got off work yesterday to find a few missed calls from my son. When I called him back he tells me that his stepmom has now asked for the money from the check since it was almost the same amount they spent on my college. She said it was obvious I'd never pay my debts and that I would just give him, my son, more money anyways. I'm stunned. I'm pissed. I don't know what has possessed her to think to ask my son for money intended for his family. I tell my son to ignore her and I'll handle it, so next I call my ex. It goes straight to voicemail. I try again a few minutes later and it's the same thing. So I reluctantly call my ex's wife and she answers immediately. I tell her the three of us, my ex, her, and me, need to meet first thing in the morning to discuss the debt. I'm thinking this needs to happen in person with all three of us so there's no confusion. She agrees. This morning we met at a coffee shop near my ex's work. As soon as they sit down I say, so, ex's wife, want to tell me why you think it's appropriate to ask my son for money? My ex looks at her and says, you asked, our son, for money. She starts, on about how she was only asking for the money they're owed, and she didn't ask for more than was on the check. Then she says, for years we struggled due to paying for your school. For years we couldn't afford a new car, a new house, or a nanny. My kids had to share a room. She goes on about her struggles. I started to tune her out because I keep thinking there's no way she's this deluded. It may have been inappropriate but I laughed. I literally took out thousands in credit card debt to keep me and my son afloat while my at the time husband was shacking up with her and paying her bills. My ex looks at her and says, what the hell Sarah? I added, it's laughable you think you're owed anything from while you were a mistress. We were married when he paid for my schooling, it's quite literally none of your business how he chose to spend money. You had zero entitlement to his money until you said, I do, and from what I recall that wasn't until years after the divorce was even finalized. Do not contact me or my son about this money again. You will never see a dime from me. She rolls her eyes and gets up to leave. My ex tells her he's going to stay for a minute. After she's gone he asks why I didn't just call him and tell him about what was going on, said he would have handled it and that it didn't have to go this far. I say I did call him, twice actually, and this is how we figured out she blocked my number from his phone. So those of you who said she's just very insecure, you were absolutely correct. I tell him that she involved his sister, cousin, and his sister-in-law. That I got several calls and texts from them telling me I should just pay back my debt finally. I tell him that she involved the family and then asked our son for money intended for his baby. She's crossed too many lines. He apologizes and says he'll make sure she doesn't bother me about it again. We both leave after that. My son told me he blocked her number and doesn't want her at his house until she apologizes. That's pretty much it for now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, wow, your ex's wife needs a reality check. Maybe she should start a GoFundMe for her struggles instead of asking for money from your son. Reply, what's weird about this is that my ex makes significantly more than I do. They're anything but struggling financially. Commenter 2, this seems like a weird power trip from her. Reply, you're probably right. Commenter 3, she is a very insecure person. She is jealous of you. She took your man, he is trash, she can have him, but you are thriving and she is jealous because you did what you had to do and are thriving. Her being his mistress didn't destroy you, so she is just holding on to this money thing. Good for you. Remember to always be petty. It's good for the soul. Glad you had the chat and I hope this annoyance is over for you and congrats on becoming a grandma. Reply, always be petty. It's good for the soul. Commenter 4, I hope ex and mistress get divorced. They deserve a happily ever after, and more importantly your son doesn't deserve to have that psycho around him. Reply, yeah, honestly the person I feel the worst for here is my son. He grew up with a woman who hated his mom for no good reason and apparently always held a grudge over me getting an education. I can't imagine after what she did recently he'd want her super involved as a grandma. I don't think that'll go down well. Commenter, yes, you're the asshole. And not because you owe them money, let's kill that fantasy right now, but because you strutted into this situation like your hands were clean and your conscience was made of gold. Spoiler alert, it's not. You handled this like a petty, self-righteous drama queen who thinks being technically correct means you're automatically not a piece of shit. Hate to break it to you, it doesn't. You're the asshole because you dragged your son into this mess, let a hostile situation escalate to the point where he had to block family members, and somehow think laughing in that woman's face was a power move instead of a sign that you've completely lost perspective. You're not the bigger person. You're just louder. Yes, she's delusional. Yes, she's entitled. Yes, she's a homewrecker with a victim complex. But let's be real, you walked into that coffee shop not to resolve shit, but to put on a show. You wanted the last word. You wanted the applause. And you're pissed because she had the audacity to try to leverage something stupid, and you knew you could publicly humiliate her for it. And congratulations. You did. But here's the part you don't get to ignore, you could have shut this down in 2 texts and a phone call. You wanted the confrontation. You wanted to win. You wanted to be right so bad, you dragged your son into a 3-way power struggle between you, your ex, and his insecure wife, and then bragged about it like you just walked off a courtroom TV set. You don't owe her money. But don't act like you handled this with grace. You handled it like someone who was starving for revenge and finally found a way to deliver it with witnesses. So yes, you're the asshole. Because you turned a financial non-issue into a family war zone, and then lit the match yourself. Reply, I tried contacting my ex to get him to handle this. She blocked my number from his phone. Esichi brought the family into this. Esichi contacted my son and asked him for money. All I did was call her out. I admit, I snapped. I already told her I wasn't giving her money. I don't know how much more graceful I could have handled this. Stories number 5. Coworker told me to fuck off in the morning company call. What do I do? Background, this girl, let's call her Sarah, not her real name, has had it out for me since day one. I took Sarah's best friend's job at my company and ever since I started she has been undermining me. It has gotten to a point where I now have to CC her boss on every email so she has to behave. I have been at my job for 1.5 years now and everyone knows how she treats me and they all know it's a problem. That's how bad it can be. I have never provoked anything and never have entertained this but she would still make snarky comments about something I am in charge of. This morning we had our weekly call with the whole team, 22 people including both of our bosses as well as a few more upper management people. Sarah as well as a couple other people are working from home but Sarah has her video camera. At the end of the call I had to remind everyone of a task that everyone had to complete. At that point she said, F***** off. It got quiet for a few long seconds and then I continued but everyone heard it. At first, I thought I misheard it because there was no way she would have said that but she did. After the call my coworkers came up to me and confirmed they heard it clear as day. I know Sarah is working from home but we all heard it. She was not on mute and we had no video evidence that she was talking to someone else because her camera was off, something our company hates doing. An hour later James, fake name, pulled me into the conference room and was told, on behalf of the company, I do apologize for what had happened this morning on the call. There is no evidence that this has happened. Because of her history with me I want something in writing that it has happened. I cannot find the company handbook but part of me wants to write this up in an email and have James confirm that this did happen to me. Is there something else I should do? Top comments. Commenter 1, when you document for HR, mention how many people were on the call. Frame this as having a negative impact on your ability to do your job and team morale. Make it clear that you just want to do your job well, make it about that and not about the other person as much as possible. Commenter 2, yup. Someone reacting unprofessionally like this can undermine your ability to facilitate projects. It's openly dismissive and this type of negative behavior poisons the well. Commenter 3, this is grossly unprofessional but the company gets to decide how professional they want the place to be in the end. It's unlikely that if someone is allowed to brazenly say this to you in a group setting that much is going to come out of it, they are actively choosing this asshole over your comfort. You can certainly put it in writing but it's not going to do much, since it's not a he said she said, 20 people were involved and they confirmed it. It sounds like Sarah knows where bodies are hidden or some shit because that's weird to let people treat coworkers like that. We cuss here but cussing at someone or cussing someone out is going to get you terminated for bad attitude. Commenter 4, some companies have some pretty toxic cultures. A department manager cussed me out for invoking the drug and alcohol policy on him a few weeks ago. During our initial conversation he told me, I am going to F***ck you up both professionally and personally. I'd like to get that one framed and hung on the wall. Update. She sent me a message saying, hey, just occurred to me that my slip up this morning was poor timing. My computer decided at that exact moment to want to do that IT restart or the 4th time this morning and Blue Beam was being stupid. Sorry if you thought it was directed towards you. I would like to address the fact that there was no apology for her action but rather how I felt towards it. What does not help is that I have had issues with her in the past with sly remarks and undermining me, so everyone on that call believes her action was intentional and malicious whether she meant to say that on mute or not. I did send an email saying all of this to James including her response. I did not respond to Sarah's message. Update 2, thank you for the suggestions. James is relatively new to his role as he is taking Tim's job so I do not blame him nor do I expect much from him in his new role, less than a week. With that being said, I did go to James's boss, Paul, who is typically on the Monday morning calls but he was out on PTO. He was not okay with what had happened and inquired more information on the issues in the past between myself and Sarah. I do have records of some small things she has done in the past and they were handled, mostly micromanaging me, telling me my job is not done correctly when it was and other small things. Tim has always been on my side and defended me and my position and would handle the conversations with her boss. I was told I will be updated and talked with before Friday. Stories number 6. Aita for not telling my boyfriend about his daughter starting her period and giving her my doll. I'm 29F, boyfriend is 34M. He has an 11-year-old daughter with his ex. He usually only has his daughter 3 weekends a month during the school year, but his ex is currently on vacation in Japan, so his daughter has been with him for the past 2 weeks. The weather has been really warming up where we live and one of my friends opened her pool for the year this weekend. My boyfriend's daughter loves swimming. I told her on Thursday that we could go swimming on Saturday and she was ecstatic. Saturday rolls around and she stayed in bed all morning, looking miserable. My boyfriend took her temp and she didn't have a fever. She just told him she doesn't feel like going anywhere and asked to be left alone. It didn't seem like she was sick and she had been so excited about swimming earlier in the week, so I knocked on her door later in the day Saturday to ask her if something happened at school that upset her, or if there is anything going on she wants to talk about. She initially told me no, but she was tearing up. Then she made me promise not to tell her dad, which I agreed to. She told me she had started her period, was in a lot of pain, and was using toilet paper as a makeshift pad. Even with my assurances that starting your period is nothing to be embarrassed about, she still didn't want me to tell her dad. I ran to the store to get her some different pad options, a heating pad, and some chocolate. As promised, I didn't tell her dad. I just said I was running to the store to grab some snacks for myself and his daughter. His daughter continued to have bad cramps even with the heating pad, so I gave her 2 Midol tablets. About 90 minutes later she was feeling a lot better. I gave her 2 additional Midol tablets when she woke up the next morning with cramps. My boyfriend's ex returned from vacation late in the day on Sunday, yesterday. His daughter had no issues with her mom knowing about her starting her period, and if she had been in town his daughter would have called her. The only reason I got involved is because her mom wasn't there and she didn't want her dad to know. I knew his daughter would tell her mom once she was back, so it was just a day and a half of me helping and not telling my boyfriend. I figured if his daughter's mom thought my boyfriend should know, then her mom should be the one to tell him, as I made a promise to his daughter not to tell. This morning my boyfriend's ex told my boyfriend what happened, and he called me after speaking to her. He's furious with me for not telling him about what he called a medical condition and for giving his daughter OTC medications without his approval. I told him I wanted his daughter to be able to trust me so she will be comfortable coming to me in the future with things that she might be embarrassed to tell her dad about. I also told him that if there was something going on that required medical attention, I absolutely would have told him, but this was just her starting her period. He's still pissed, mainly about me giving her the Midol. I don't think I'm the AH here, but I also have no kids of my own and am starting to doubt myself because maybe from the perspective of people who are parents I really messed up in this situation. Stories number 7. Needing to place my 2-year-old toddler up for adoption. Has anyone have any experience with this? I came to the realization that I need to place my almost 2-year-old daughter up for adoption. I'm a single mom with no family support and no support from the birth father. I came from a broken abusive family, my mom was addict, I actually was in foster care from the age of 12 until I aged out. I struggled from PTSD, depression and suicide for my whole adulthood. I'm 30 years old, never wanted to be a parent, so when I was pregnant, I wanted to put my baby up for adoption, but my mom and family pressured me into keeping the baby. They promised me they would help me, but the only one who really helped me was my mother, even though she wasn't dependable because of her addiction. All my family live outstate and my mom passed from an OD in January 2021, so now I'm all alone. I actually have a good job and I'm able to financially support my daughter, but my mental health is so bad. 6 months after giving birth, I was involuntarily hospitalized for self-harming. I had a bad case of PPD, maybe I still do, ick. All I know, I'm in therapy and my mental health is not getting better. I had a healthy pregnancy, no drug or tobacco use, I didn't even drink coffee. My daughter is very healthy, loving, well-adjusted and hitting all her milestones. She loves her stuffed animals, she calls them her friendlies. She loves affection and cuddling. She loves music and dancing. If you say, happy feet, she will shuffle her feet really fast. She's really the cutest thing in this world. Unfortunately, my mental has made it difficult to care for her, especially after losing my mother because I have no support. Sometimes I leave her crying in the crib BC, I just can't handle it. I love her but I just feel so disconnected from her. It's not healthy for her and I want her to have a better life than what I had. I know, she is attached to me, but I believe she's young enough to make an adjusted transition. I guess this is a long story, I just don't want people judging me. I'm just looking for any advice or people's experiences with placing a toddler up for adoption. I'm hoping to go with a private agency, but not sure if they take toddlers. Even though I was in foster care, I'm not sure how state foster adoption agencies work. Can I choose the parents and am I able to have an open adoption? I know with private agencies, I can choose the parents and I am able to have an open adoption. Ideally, I prefer a same-sex couple. I was sexual abused by multiple men as child and I really don't trust any hetero men her. I just don't want my daughter to go through what I have been through, I want her to have a good family. Any non-judging advice would be great. Thank you. Relevant comments. I wish I could give you a big hug. I'm so sorry things are so rough, and I can tell you genuinely care about your daughter. Reach out to a local family agency. In our town that would be United Way, but it may be different for you. From your post I find it hard to tell if you are considering to place your daughter for adoption because you want to think it's the best option for both of you, or if you find your current situation unbearable and don't see another option. If it's the latter, then there might be options for you to get support so that you have more space for yourself and can get treatment for your mental health if you so wish. I know in my country social services and some private charities have people that can come to or even live with you for a couple of months, sometimes a year, to support you in raising your daughter. They create free spaces for you but also offer resources tailored to your own parenthood and well-being. If this is not an option, someone else has suggested hiring a nanny or moving closer to family for support. Any of those three options would take some weight off your back and might be able to create enough time and space to take care of and get help for your mental health in an at-home setting, therapy sessions, maybe medication, rest, meditation, reflection, whatever it is you need to heal. If you feel like you need inpatient treatment, there might be options for you that don't involve placing your daughter permanently. In my country there's specific treatment facilities for parent-children units. Otherwise it's possible to make arrangements with social services to place a child into an equivalent of foster care for a limited amount of time. Parents can keep in touch by phone, email, letters, or visits until their mental health crisis is managed to an extent that they can move to at-home treatment. If that's not an option where you are, then maybe something similar can be arranged with a friend or family. As it would be a longer visit, it might even be okay if they live further away. I'm adopted and just wanted to say thank you for listing these resources. It truly brings me peace to know there are more flexible resources than just traditional foster care for mom and child, especially concerning mental health. Motherhood can be isolating, lonely and exhausting, especially if you suffer from PPD. Thank you again. Some people here have suggested going to CPS. I think that's a terrible idea. Adoption agencies make money from transferring a child from one family to another, and they're not going to turn you away because your child is two. If CPS thinks you're neglecting her, they could take her and you'll have no say in where she goes. Actually, suicide is always an option. I don't think it's a healthy option, but anyone can do it, at any time. I tried 3 times by ODing, twice on sleep meds prescriptions and once cutting, but failed. I definitely wish there were easier, peaceful methods. Update post. Just wanted to update this post. Apologies for not responding sooner. My daughter and I are doing much better than before. It wasn't the best experience to get to this good place, but it all worked out in the end. We both seems to be in a good place. Here's a long version if anyone is interested. Back in February-March 2022, I went through a bad mental health break. I become very suicidal, depressed. I lost over 20 pounds in a week from it. I did have a suicide attempt, but I ended calling for help and the EMT took me into the hospital, who then 72 me. I went into an inpatient hospital called HRI Hospital. It's a private one and it was more of a holding detention than a psychiatric hospital. I did learn a lot from the other patients, so the patients were more helpful than the staff. After that experience, I ended up doing an extra psychiatric program, but it was a PHP, partial hospital program, which is an intense outpatient one where I spent 8 hours a day Monday through Friday, doing therapy work. It was actually more helpful. They focused on teaching about CBT, coping skills, how to reframing negative thoughts patterns. So that was actually more helpful than the inpatient hospital. I will say at the time Boston was going through a major mental health crisis. Probably most places might be having the same crisis. Around that same time, Boston was trying to clear up the homeless camp tents on Methadone Mile, and many homelessness were shuffled to these inpatient hospitals, so they were extra overloaded. It took 4 days just to get me a bed, so it was in unprecedented circumstances, and actually, around that same time is when Russia started to invade Ukraine BC. I found that out while in the hospital, watching the news, so my timing really sucked. It just not a good time. My daughter's update. Right before all of this, I surrendered custody of my daughter to DCF, so she wasn't around me when I had my mental break, back in February, and never saw any of the stuff above. Thankfully, she was placed in a very good foster home while I got my help. I had to go through a lot of treatments and follow DCF recommendations, but at the end of September 2022, my daughter was able to come back home and our court case was officially dismissed in December 2022. Current update 2023, definitely not perfect, it's still a transition and some days are better than others. Being a single mother is just going to be hard, at times, and I just need to get used to it. People tell me it gets easier when they start regular school, so I'm excited for that. My daughter is doing well. She has a slight separation anxiety when I leave or drop her off at daycare, but it actually gotten better since last September 2022. DCF is still doing monthly check-ins for the next 6 months. Her ex-foster mom still comes and sees her, and even takes us on family events, so it's been a good transition for her. My daughter is a sweet little girl, she loves affection and hugs and seems to be developing emotionally well with everything that she went through, except for some minor separation anxiety, but that really gotten better too. I just been working on my mental health, reframing negative thought patterns, staying away from toxic peeps. I have also been focused on whole body wellness, so I'm doing weight training, some martial arts, eating more cleaner foods, yoga, stretching, Pilates. I gained 50 pounds over the pandemic lockdown, but now, I am back to my pre-pregnancy weight, the healthy way. I don't even weigh myself, I just focus on feeling good and getting back into shape. I like being active and living healthy, so that has really helped my mental health struggles. Also, definitely having better self-esteem, more confidence and self-worth, has helped the most, honestly. I didn't take any pictures of myself for 2 years of the pandemic, but I'm starting to take more pics and getting out more and just enjoying life more. I'm in a much better headspace and definitely feel more hopeful about the future. Thank you all for your help and just for caring and not for judging. I really appreciate these caring comments. Thank you. Stories number 8. Aita 4. Leading on, a guy I've only been dating for 3 weeks because I wouldn't sleep with him. So I, 25F, have been seeing this guy, 28M, for 3 weeks. We met through mutual friends, hit it off, and decided to go on a few dates. He came off super sweet and respectful. On our first date, we had dinner and talked for hours. Second date, we grabbed coffee and went for a walk. Third date, we got dinner again and he walked me to my car afterward. As we stand by my car, he starts getting pushy. Not in an aggressive way, but definitely in that weird, persistent, trying to make you feel guilty kind of way. He starts leaning in closer and saying how he really wants to take things to the next level. I'm confused at first, so I ask what he means, and he straight up says he wants to have sex. Now, I was thrown off not because I'm naive or anything, but because I already told him when we first started talking that I'm waiting until marriage to have sex. It's something I've always been upfront about. I never gave him mixed signals or said, maybe later. I made it clear from day one, so I reminded him, I told you I'm waiting until marriage. That should have been the end of it. But no. This man had the audacity to look offended and say that I was leading him on. That I should have at least given him something by now, because he's been courting me, and that 3 weeks is a long time. Like, what? He went on this whole rant about how he's been taking me out, paying for my meals, being a gentleman, and apparently I owed him something for that. Mind you, every single time we went out, I offered to pay. I literally pulled out my wallet and offered to pay multiple times, and every time, he'd say, no, I'm taking you out or this is my treat. After I stood my ground and said I wasn't changing my mind, he snapped and basically accused me of using him. Said I should have told him I wasn't interested in anything physical from the start. Again, I did, and that I let him waste his time and money. Then he stormed off. The next day, I was venting about it to some coworkers, and while some of them were on my side, a few, mostly guys, said they kind of agreed with him. That I should have clarified my intentions better, and that leading someone on emotionally can be just as bad. One guy even said that going on more than one date while knowing you're not planning to get physical is sending the wrong message. Like, what? I thought I was being clear while enjoying getting to know him. Isn't that what dating is supposed to be? Anyway, now I'm second-guessing everything. Was I the asshole for continuing to date someone when I knew physical intimacy was off the table for me? Even though I said that up front. Is that actually leading someone on? Edit. Wow, I really did not expect this to blow up the way it did, but it's honestly kind of crazy. I want to take some time to address some of the comments I've been getting, especially the ones about my choice to wait until marriage. Look, I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's the choice I've made for myself. I'm a Christian, I go to a Christian college, and I'm studying for ministry. I'm heavily involved in my church's activities and groups, and I really try to live according to my beliefs. It's been my decision to wait, and honestly, I don't understand why some people are so upset about it. It's my life, my choice, and it doesn't impact anyone else's choices. I've had a lot of people say things like, no guy's gonna want to wait for you, or no one's gonna actually want to do that, and that's okay. If a guy doesn't want to wait, that's his right. If someone doesn't feel like it fits with them, they can find someone else who shares their values. I'm not mad about it, and I don't see why I'd be. It's about mutual respect, and I'm just looking for someone who respects my decision. It's not for everyone, and I understand that. Another thing I've seen a lot of is people saying this post was AI generated. I can guarantee it was not. I just want to remind everyone that the AI checkers and detectors out there aren't always 100% accurate. I remember when AI first started getting introduced, and people would get accused of using it because their writing didn't sound like them. That doesn't mean it was AI. In fact, I've always been a strong writer and have been told so throughout my high school and college years. So yeah, no AI here. As for the people asking if the coworker who made that comment was the mutual friend of the guy I went out with. Yes, the friend was someone I was introduced to through him, and he does attend the same church as me. Some people have said I should have looked for someone more churchy if I wanted someone who would wait until marriage, but just because someone goes to church doesn't mean they share the same values. That's their prerogative. Some people are calling me dumb for wanting to wait, or saying I'll never find someone who's sexually compatible with me, but honestly, that's just not a huge deal for me. If I'm a virgin, and the person I'm with is also a virgin, we're both going to be new to it. I don't expect them to be experienced, and I don't think it's some huge issue. I don't believe that compatibility in that area is the most important thing in a relationship. Lastly, for the people saying this story is fake, no, it's not. I'm not sure if some of you just don't understand what it's like to feel like you're in the right, only to have a bunch of people tell you that you're wrong. It's honestly a mind-boggling feeling, and it's made me question myself a lot. But I still feel like I did what was right for me, and I'm not going to let other people's opinions make me doubt that. Thanks again to everyone who offered support. I really appreciate it. Stories number 9. Aita for yelling at a 19-year-old and asking for him to be fired. I, 37M, and my husband, 39M, have been together 11 years. My husband owns a small bookshop and recently has hired a boy to help him. This lad, I'll call him Joe, is gay, and while me and my husband very obviously have no issue with this, Joe seems to do things a lot differently to us. For context, both me and my husband are Irish immigrants to London. We grew up 20 minutes away from each other and went to the same, very Catholic, school. We aren't exactly flamboyant or outwardly gay, and don't exactly do PDA since that's how we were raised. On my lunch break from work I like to visit my husband, bringing him records I think he might like and his coffee. Recently, however, Joe has started making comments. It started small with him saying things about queer joy and how he loves gay couples, which we didn't mind at all. In all fairness, it's a fairly scary world for queer people right now, and I understand seeing a happy married gay couple means a lot for a kid. But then he started getting a little too comfortable for my liking. He started asking things like, "Who's the top?" and calling us the F slur jokingly. I think it's entirely inappropriate to be making those comments to his boss, but my husband told me to let it go. Joe calls us the F slur a lot, which I had brought up a few times, telling him calmly to not do that, but when he continued I learned to let go despite my distaste for it since it didn't seem to bother my husband too much. But last Wednesday I lost it. I was up by the counter when Joe came in. He immediately started blathering on about how FY we are, and while my husband chuckled awkwardly, I did not. Joe noticed this and said I was a stick in the mud and repressed. I was trying to keep my cool until he called me a Fenian FT, and I lost it. For anyone who doesn't know, the term Fenian isn't exactly a slur or anything, but it isn't exactly nice either. Me and my husband jokingly call each other Fenians or Paddies from time to time if we've something particularly Irish, and I've never exactly viewed as a very offensive word to me, but something about this English boy made me snap. I asked him if he thought that was an appropriate thing to say to his boss's partner and started shouting, telling him he's way out of play and if he wants to keep his job he should buck up. I left to cool down a bit, and 30 minutes later got a call from my husband berating me, saying that Joe was crying and that he's just a kid. I do feel really bad since he's only young, but I still think he needed to be knocked down a step or two. Am I the asshole? Edit. I see a lot of people making comments about the nature of the relationship between Joe and my husband. My husband has asked Joe to stop on my behalf before, but this isn't something that really bothers my husband, and to be fair, it's his workplace, not mine. Top comment. NTA. The kid is 19 and is old enough to know that saying harmful remarks in front of, let alone to address your boss, is not the way to go. Should you have yelled? Maybe not, but I can't say I would have done any better in your position. Honestly, apologize to your husband for the scene you caused. Mention that as long as the kid works there you won't be going to the bookshop for favors or otherwise, as he makes you uncomfortable, and after today you're sure the kid would be uncomfortable as well. Let him know if you're willing to offer the kid an apology. I wouldn't, but maybe you're a bigger person than I am. And let him know that you don't want one from the kid, as you find his behavior and language appealing and don't want anything from him. Response, concerning apologizing. Being young doesn't mean you get to act however you want, especially at work. Joe crossed the line way too many times, even after being told to chill. Honestly, OP just set a boundary, and if Joe doesn't learn now, he's gonna keep doing the same stuff wherever he goes. Relevant comments. What I want to know is why he feels so comfortable to talk like that in front of his boss and partner. That is language used by very close friends, who have a mutual understanding of each other's intentions. Something, or someone, has to be giving Joe the courage to continue this behavior despite repeatedly being told to stop. I'm not sure why your husband is allowing this kid to undermine you. And say these things when you've made it clear you're not comfortable with it. You need to have a discussion with him, a serious one. Yeah, I'm not gonna think the husband has a thing for this kid who's 19 and saying things that the OP obviously dislikes. Who would let someone constantly do that to their so gay or straight without some reasoning? Reply, I'm not really uncomfortable with their relationship per se, but I do think that my husband lets Joe get away with these things and doesn't really have my back in these kinds of situations. He's a peacemaker by nature, and while I love that about him, it results in him letting things slide that I wouldn't, so then I'm made to be the bad guy. Update, Joe is my husband's son. I won't go too much into the details for both my and their privacy, but I had a major fight with my husband about why he was being so lenient with him and why we didn't have my back in this. We were shouting back and forth until he shouted something about blood being thicker than water. I shout back about him being just some boy, and he stopped suddenly. Then he told me Joe is from an ex-girlfriend of his who's now unable to take care of him, so my husband picked up. He's been paying child support for years. We each have our separate bank accounts, so I didn't even notice. I'm contemplating separation and divorce. Someone I've known for 25 years became a stranger in 10 seconds. I physically got sick thinking back on those sexual remarks that he made to his father. My husband always went white as a ghost when he said those kinds of things, and that was possibly the only thing he actually gave out to him for, but it makes me feel sick all the same. Sorry, I won't be responding to comments. I need to get my head right personally. Comments. The update is absolutely insane. I'm sorry that you got hit with such an overwhelming piece of information. No perfect way to navigate finding out something life-changing like that. Especially NTA now. I wish you the best of luck moving forward after finding out that he was lying for so long, and yes, hiding that information is absolutely lying. Hate to jump to that conclusion, but that was my first thought too. I was not expecting that update. I think this is one of the best twists I've ever seen on Reddit. Right up there with the ending of Sixth Sense. Oh, this takes the cake as the fakest Reddit story ever. Stories number 10. My best friend's girlfriend dragged him and his MOM to my house at midnight to confront me about our friendship. I, F28, have been best friends with M28, for 10 plus years. We're both Scorpios, born a week apart, and have the kind of friendship that has people constantly questioning if we're more than friends. We're not, we're siblings at this point. My family treats him like one of their own, and vice versa. We've always had one rule, no touching. No hugs unless one of us is in real pain. That's how serious we've been about boundaries. When either of us gets into a relationship, we immediately introduce the partner and set the tone. My boyfriends always got along with him. His girlfriends? Not so much, only 2 ever did. Now enter her. When they started dating, she and I actually got along well. She'd call to chat, I'd visit her at work, and I was genuinely rooting for them, especially since she stood by him when he was broke. But after they broke up, she called me to vent before he could. I stayed out of their relationship business and kept my distance out of respect. Fast forward to October 2024. My best friend got a boost in his career and he got big money, and yes, it comes with money. Suddenly, the ex slithers back into his life, except now she's upgraded her attitude and thinks she's the queen of the council. He tells me they're back together. I'm happy for him and excited to reconnect with her. Me, hey girl. Where have you been? Her, why do you want to know? I've been around. Me, come on, don't be like that. Anyway, congrats on you two getting back together. Her, thank you man. We've got shopping to do. Click. That was the last normal moment. Suddenly, my best friend stops talking to me. No replies. Not even when I sent him an SOS text, something I've never done lightly. When I called him out for not being there for me during a crisis, I told him I'd stop trying altogether. He didn't respond. Then midnight rolls around. I get a knock on the door at 23:45. It's him, his girlfriend, and his mother. I'm already on edge because earlier that day, I'd been digitally assaulted. A stranger video called me and started pleasuring himself. It brought back deep trauma from when I was physically assaulted at age 6. I was not okay. The girlfriend storms in like the big bad wolf, breathing fire. She demands a meeting between my mom and his mom to interrogate our friendship. Why? Because we text, I love you *TCH, and I apparently talk about guys too openly on the phone. She even deleted my SOS text because she thought it was just boy drama. Both moms shut her down hard. They told her no man will ever want to marry someone who wakes up elders in the middle of the night to feed her insecurities. That's when I snapped. I told her exactly why I had reached out that night, and she went dead silent. They left without a word. During this whole hurdle, my best friend tells me they got engaged a month and she asked him not to tell me because seeing me would sicken her. He is rethinking the whole relationship because of how the fiancé-girlfriend reacted to our friendship. Now she wants to apologize because the relationship is threatened, meaning no money to spend on her kid will stop altogether. But I'd rather go pat a Titan boa in the Amazon than hear her out. So, Reddit. Aita for refusing her apology. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she deleted your SOS and was a bitch when you welcomed her back into his life. I hope your best friend sets her straight. Sounds like the moms are on your side, but is he? OOP, I don't know if he is my boy and forever will be my boy. It's up to him to see what is really going on. Commenter 2, NTA. But you definitely need go talk to your friend and let him know how she's been treating and if this how it's going to be that you can't be friend with him. She also showed her true self when she came back into his life all insecure now that he got money and a little power. She's a gold digger and doesn't care about him, only his money. Hopefully he realizes that before he marries her or knocks her up. Good luck OP. Commenter 3, if I were in his shoes, I would have dumped her the instant I learned she had deleted my texts from anyone, behind my back. That is a monstrous breach of trust and a ginormous red flag. I would never be able to trust her after that, and jealousy is far more dangerous when money is at stake. Who the hell deletes an SOS text? A creep with zero empathy. If OP's friend didn't dump the drama llama on the spot, it implies she has at least part of him wrapped around her hoof, and that part of him is confusing his brain. If he married this girl, she'd make certain she takes him to the cleaners in the imminent divorce she would go out of her way to orchestrate after a series of abusive theatrical performances to reframe him for said divorce. This kind of cray-cray is a dime a dozen. They keep divorce attorneys up to their eyeballs in 8 balls and keep good men broke and broken. She will baby trap him for child support. OP's friend will need to have an ironclad prenup and proceed to document any weird shit she pulls to protect him and their kids. Just skip the entire circus and find a sane human woman to build a family with. Sane women are not cryptids. They do exist, I've met a few. Commenter 4, NTA. He's ignored you and taken her side and even went with her to your house at fucking midnight to berate you. I would block her and tell her to go F herself. Tell him if he stays with her that you wish them the best but you will no longer be friends with him. That drama is not worth it and he's already shown he will prioritize her, as he should in a relationship, but also let her treat you like crap and not be there for you. Update. Hey potatoes, it's me again. Thank you so much for all the responses and support on my last post. Honestly, I really thought I was the AH. I've been sitting behind the bush like a lion during hunting season, watching, waiting, observing everything from a distance. And I have got an update. So, it's been a month since the midnight madness, and I've kept my distance. No calls, no texts. Just vibes and self-respect. That was until 2 days ago. I achieved a big win and decided to share the moment with my best friend. We had a quick celebratory call, then I organized an outing for the friend group since one of us just graduated. My best friend agreed to come, and I made it crystal clear that his girlfriend-fiancé entanglement was not invited, to avoid any drama. We scheduled a hangout for the last Saturday of the month. Now here's where it gets juicy. Yesterday at exactly 22:03 p.m., while I was laughing on a TikTok live, shout out to the TikTok crew, I get a call from him. Here's how it went. Me, you calling at this hour? Someone better be dead, in jail, in the hospital or missing, I chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. Him, in the most defeated, cold, distant voice, hey friend. And instantly I knew. I knew it had to be about the woman with 100 titles. He continues, she says your name is still a problem. She's claiming we boinked and that we're in love. She's demanding I end the friendship if I want to keep her. I took a deep breath and said what had been sitting on my heart for a while. When you two first met, you were broke, and she was the sweetest person I'd ever met. Now you're settled, doing well for yourself, and suddenly I'm a threat. She's judging my character without even knowing me. Do what you need to do, but don't come running when things fall apart. I won't be able to save you. He paused, and said, if those are the consequences I have to bear, losing your friendship, then it's okay. Then he hung up, just like that. 10+ years of memories. Gone with a single sentence. I stared at the screen for a second. Then I turned back to the TikTok live like nothing happened, because what else could I do? Yeah, I'm hurt. I'm really upset. I lost someone I've grown up with. Someone who was my person. But I know my worth. And I refuse to shrink myself to make someone else feel secure in their relationship. If you ever read this, my guy, I love you. Always will. But I hope she was worth it. Thank you again to all my Reddit potatoes for shedding light and reminding me I wasn't in the wrong. You're all the real MVPs. Until the next episode of As the Friendship Turns. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, what an insane mess. Reply, and I can't believe I'm in the middle of it, it's like a nightmare. Commenter 2, so does this mean he's not allowed to hang in the friend group anymore too if you're there? What's he allowed to do if he goes to hang with his friends and you're already there or you show up? Does he have to leave? I would be petty and arrange several fun catch-ups over many weekends in a row with the friend group till he realizes his girlfriend is totally isolating him because he's not allowed to attend anything. Reply, he can come, but he won't come because not only does the girl hate me but the rest of the friend group. It's a lot and the hangout isn't gonna happen cause he won't be there. Commenter 3, I'm so sorry that you lost a friend. Rather, cherish what you had, mourn what you will miss. Make room in your life for the new opportunities that will come along. You deserve a friend that truly valued you. Reply, a digital hug, I will cherish the memories we shared and the crazy dreams we had of starting a company, thank you. Commenter 4, damn. I'm so sorry. We all know this isn't going to end well for him. But good on you knowing your worth. I know letting go was hard. But that's how it goes sometimes. If he apologized and asked to still be friends, would you accept? Or has he burned that bridge? Reply, I follow my instinct, the fact that he chose to jump for a girl who is judging my character. I don't know if the friendship will be the same as before. Does the best friend's mother know what was going on? Reply, I don't think the mum knows he ended the friendship yesterday. Commenter 5, of what a mess. She hid her true colors well. Now she's isolating him. If his mom keeps asking you to do something, she most likely isn't getting through to him either. But I also don't know how his mom is. I don't remember at least. I'll reread everything just as a refresher. I'm sorry you lost someone close to you. He'll regret it. Especially those final words he said to you. If he's fine dropping the friendship for his, most likely abusive, girlfriend, then did your friendship mean as much to him as it did to you? Not gonna lie, that last sentence of his sounded a bit manipulative. Did he normally say things like that, when you both had disagreements? Maybe reflecting on the friendship might help ease the pain of losing him. It's not your job to coddle her insecurities, even though I feel this is more about control. It'll be okay. I know you know that. He dug his grave, he can toss in it now. Big hugs. Sending love and support. You have the petty crew behind you. I'm sure our petty potato queen is proud of you, just as much as we are, for handling it with grace and humor. You deserve better friends. Reply, there were times he would go months without talking to me after arguments. I thought it was just him cooling off. Now that you mentioned it, I'm wondering a lot of things. My petty potato crew, you give me so much life. Does OOP's parents know about the end of the friendship? Reply, my mum overheard the conversation. She said if that's what he wants I shouldn't force anything. His mum on the other hand isn't happy. She said she will call later. Stories number 11. My 18F boyfriend, 21M, has set strict rules, and I'm not sure if I can keep going like this. Hey everyone, I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for almost a year now, and although a lot of things are great between us, there are also some stuff that really bother me and are starting to feel like red flags. I'm unsure if I should proceed with the relationship under the rules he's been enforcing or if I can keep tolerating his weird opinions. One of the biggest issues is that he asked me to cut off my boy best friend of over 4 years. The only reason he asked me to do that though is because he found an album on my phone where I had saved a bunch of photos, videos, and messages from our chats, nothing inappropriate, just a lot of memories. He got the wrong idea and felt uncomfortable, so he told me I had to at least stop talking to him. Another thing that really gets to me is that he doesn't let me wear short skirts anymore, even if I wear safety shorts underneath. He said he doesn't want me to look like a whore. We also had a big argument over what swimsuit I should wear this summer. He's obviously against bikinis, and even some swim dresses if they show cleavage or are too short. According to him, it's not safe for me to get too much male attention, especially if I'm out alone. That idea has only come up more recently. I was allowed to wear skirts for the first 9 months of our relationship, but then he changed his mind after I broke his trust on multiple occasions, and if I hadn't, then he wouldn't have had to take that back or make such strict rules. He also demands that I'm home before 8:30 p.m. I live in a city and have a 1-hour ride home, using public transport. Most of the time I come back from a day with my friends sooner than he tells me to, and he said he felt disrespected that I always do the same mistake and that it was way too risky for me to travel that late by myself. We both have a bad experience with weird people in my city. He checks my phone sometimes. He doesn't read anything, but he did once ask me to show him the TikToks my friend was sending, because I sent him a video about some gym guy humbling another. It was a harmless meme, but he still felt uncomfortable that she sent me a video of a shirtless guy and thought that maybe she sends me stuff like that often. He also told me I can't have any group of friends if there are males involved, and that I shouldn't have any close friendly communication with guys at all. On top of that, he regularly calls women whores online for posting gym pictures and even leaves comments under their videos. He has some really misogynistic opinions, and while he's always ready with arguments to support them, it's still not something I'm comfortable with. I want to also however mention the good side as well. He has told me that once we move in together, he'll take care of everything, all expenses, supporting me through school, helping me, and making sure I have everything I need. And right now, he is very supportive in many ways. Our communication is usually really good, and I do enjoy being with him. But these rules and the controlling behavior are really putting me off, and I don't know if it's something I can accept for the rest of my life. Should I break up with him? Stories number 12. Aita for not wanting to sign a post-nup after 20 years of marriage. My 39F husband, 40M, and I have been together for 25 years and married for 20 years. We don't have any children. We got together in high school and married soon after high school. I went to college and graduated with a business degree. Got a corporate job while he attended college and figured out what he wanted to do professionally. A few years after I started my corporate job, I had saved enough for a down payment on a house. I was able to save enough thanks to living with my in-laws rent-free for 3 years. I purchased a property, and since my husband didn't have any income, he was left out of the loan and the bank asked him to sign a quitclaim deed. After 6 years in community college, my husband finally decided to quit college to focus on his freelance art career, which brought him some income. He also got a part-time job to help with his expenses. When I say his expenses, it is mainly his gas, spending, and eating out. I've been the main provider for our home, paying the mortgage, utilities, majority of entertainment, traveling expenses, all pet, 2 dogs and a cat, expenses and groceries. He lost his part-time job during COVID and during that time also had a back injury that pretty much disabled him from going back to work, so now he solely relies on his freelance art, which is not always a reliable source of income. A few years ago he inherited 2 properties from relatives. He wanted to build rental units in one of the properties, but when he didn't qualify for a loan, I stepped in and co-signed for the loan to take out equity and use the money to build the property. He agreed to put me on title since the loan would be under both of our names. I helped him deal with the architect and city hall to pull permits. I was heavily involved pre-construction, but we agreed that he would deal with the contractor. Even then he asked me to help deal with the contractor once in a while and go with him to the inspections. When the money from the loan ran out, I put in some of my own funds to finish the project. My husband said he would pay me back, but 2 years later and I haven't gotten it all back yet. Prior to getting the loan, he asked if I would be willing to sign a document stating that I had no claim to the property. At the time I didn't think much of it, but I hadn't realized how much involvement I would actually have in the property. After construction was completed, I was in charge of finding a property management company, and before that I was the main contact for the rental posting while looking for tenants, since he said he didn't have the patience to deal with people. A couple of years after the construction, he brought up the post-nup again. After giving it some thought, while I agree that I don't have any claim to the property solely on his name, I do have a claim to at least the addition we made to the second property. He says that I should have to benefit from his family's inheritance. It makes me feel like trash that everything I did to help him build the units meant nothing. He says that me not signing the post-nup makes him not trust me. But a post-nup was never an issue when he didn't have any property and all we had was our residence that is under my name. He said that since he signed a quit-claim deed, he doesn't have claim to our residence, but that's not how it works in a community property state. I know a post-nup would also benefit me in that I would protect my residence, my 401k, and any future alimony payments. But the distrust is so hurtful that I think at this point I would rather divorce. I wouldn't touch his properties but would demand to have him refinance to remove me from the loan on the rental property. I just don't think I can get over the distrust and loss of self-respect if I were to sign a post-nup after 20 years of marriage. It just makes me feel like such a doormat. What would you do in this situation? Am I thinking about this wrong and not seeing his side? Am I being inconsiderate since the rental income would be his lifeline if we were to get divorced? Just a side note. There is no suspicions about infidelity or anything like that. The thing is, I still love him very much and I know he loves me too. I just don't know where all this mistrust is coming from. Stories number 13. Aita for laughing in my ex's face and telling her that she can't expect people to respect her relationship when she ain't even respecting theirs. So my 40M ex 39F cheated on me when our daughter Annie was 6. We have been co-parenting for 10 years now and our daughter, now 16 years old, has been in a relationship with her BF Lewis, 16M, for 3 years now. If I have to describe Lewis, he's an amazing guy and treats her like a princess. His parents were teens when they had him and his twin sister. Their stepdad had been raising them since they were 8 and they has now younger siblings as well. Recently his mother has found out that his stepdad cheated on her with my ex. My ex wants to continue the relationship with him. She says in order for that to happen, Annie has to end hers with Louis. My ex doesn't allow Louis in her house anymore and apparently even told his mother that she needs to force him to end his relationship with Annie, but his mother flipped her off saying, I don't care about you or him, the mother's soon-to-be ex-husband, I'm not gonna ruin my son's 3-year relationship for two people who can't even keep a relationship. My ex has came to me saying that people need to respect her and her relationship, and I laughed in her face and said that she can't expect people to respect her relationship when she isn't even respecting theirs. Now her relatives are calling me a asshole, saying that my daughter is young and will get more guys eventually and that it is not the end of the world if her and Louis break up. So Aita. Stories number 14. My ex-fiancé injured me by attempting anal sex without preparation or consent. My confession is that I'm so embarrassed to tell people what happened. We were having vaginal sex and he was behind me. He claims he missed, he used that exact word, and got me in the ass twice. No lube, no preparation, and I had not consented to anal. He had been bugging me to do it, but I always said no. The pain was so bad I fainted on the second time in. I ended up bleeding. And with a huge bruise on my face from where I smacked the headboard when I fainted. I had to be admitted to the hospital. Because of the bruise on my face, everyone thought I ended up in the hospital because he hit me. I have said that isn't what happened, but that just made everyone think I'm covering for him even though I broke up with him. I'm so embarrassed to tell everyone what really happened. Especially my parents and grandparents, but everyone else too. It was embarrassing enough with the medics, doctors, and nurses and all the exams, and now having to watch what I eat and take stool softening pills for the next bit. Or that it hurts me to sit. I wish everyone would drop it and move on, but they all want to know the real story. Which I'm too embarrassed to tell. Comments. Commenter 1. Yeah, that's fucked up. You were right to leave him, and you don't need to tell anybody what happened if you don't want to. Whenever somebody asks, tell them, I'm not discussing this any further, and don't discuss it any further. While it is possible to miss, especially in the dark, with the emergency exit being so neighborly with the primary promenade, that kind of fumble doesn't involve forcing oneself all the way in, and especially not doing so twice. He almost certainly did it on purpose. I'd consider that rape, and depending on where you live, it may legally be considered as such as well. Commenter 2. Also, something I'm thinking is that you don't accidentally go in. You might poke it by accident, but it doesn't just go in. And twice. How do you know he didn't continue after you passed out? Commenter 3. Your choice is let them think he hit you or tell them he anally sexually assaulted you. You owe them no explanation. Tell them the relationship is over and you are just trying to take care of yourself. That their invasive questions are not helping you in any way. Tell them you can't constantly be asked questions you don't want to answer and your medical team are the only people who have to know anything. Then tell them if they keep pushing, you will end the call, leave the location, and mute their texts until they learn to respect boundaries. I know it is hard to deal with it all and it does hurt. I hope you heal quickly. Update. I wanted to post here and post a thank you because of how much support I received. I was still in denial when I posted, but there were so many kind comments. My backstory is I was sexually assaulted by my fiancé. He tried saying he missed during sex and penetrated me anally by mistake twice. He had always wanted to try anal, but I always said no. There was no preparation and it hurt me. I ended up passing out from the pain and the result was me ending up in the hospital with anal bleeding and a head injury from hitting my head on the headboard when I passed out. My entire face, especially my forehead, was completely bruised. I broke up with my fiancé because we had a huge fight at the hospital because he blamed me for what happened. But I was still so ashamed that I didn't tell my family or anyone else the true story about what happened. I only told the hospital staff. Waking up in the hospital was scary, but hospital staff, the police, and the social workers were so kind. Even when I posted here the first time, I was still in denial about what happened. Due to my injuries, the hospital automatically notified the police. The police treated it as domestic violence. Lots of times I read online and on here about people deciding to press charges, but I found out that's a myth. 1. Only police can charge someone, and 2. If there is a domestic violence situation, the police do not ask the opinion of the victim, since the victim will often cover for the abuser or try to have the charges dropped. I was not given any choice in him being charged. My ex-fiancé was arrested and he faced 2 charges over what he did to me. Separately from that, he was charged for lying to the police. He was put on a no-contact order for me when he got arrested and he was given bail at first. His bail got cancelled after a few months. It is a standard condition for everyone on bail to give their passport to the police. He had told the police he didn't have a passport, but then they found out he had plane tickets for a relative's wedding over in the United States, which required a passport since it is international travel. He thought it wasn't a big deal because he bought a return ticket too, but since he was not allowed to leave the country and he had told the police he didn't have a passport when he was asked to surrender it, his bail was cancelled. He received a fourth charge over the passport incident. I haven't seen him since we broke up, except for when I testified in court. The police and a social worker kept me up to date about his bail and everything else. I have not had any contact from him since our argument in the hospital. He was convicted on all charges he faced. So he has a criminal record and is also a sex offender. I won't lie about how testifying in court was the worst day of my life besides the night he hurt me. I wasn't even sure I wanted to testify, but I was legally required to, so at the end of the day I faced this. Our neighbors called for an ambulance because of the commotion, and so a lot of people on our street saw me naked. I saw one of my neighbors at court. It was really humiliating to have to talk about everything in front of so many strangers. But I'm doing much better now. I enrolled in university and I have started making friends. I have been seeing a counselor since I was released from the hospital. Most of the time I'm not embarrassed that my family and friends know what happened to me. I'll forever appreciate the kind comments I got here when I still too much in denial over what happened. None of you have any idea how much your kindness means. Thank you to everyone who posted to support me even though I was obviously still in denial back then. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad that you see it for what it is. Keep moving forward and don't be ashamed to ask for professional help, like therapists and psychiatrists, if you feel like it's having a tool on you. Commenter 2. This dude's life is over. Karma. Time for you to heal. I hope you accept any support given you. Stories number 15. My, 30, boyfriend, 31, killed a man 10 years ago. How do I get my mom to accept him? I met David about 6 months ago. I met him through friends and we clicked and became good friends pretty fast. One night, when we were drinking, we began talking about the past. He told me he had been admitted to a psych hospital a couple of years and then told me he had killed a friend in a psychotic break and had been all over news media. His story were all over the place when it happened, so I recognized him when he told me. I just hadn't made the connection. His sentence was to undergo psychiatric treatment and he's on medication now and really regret doing it. He tells me it was like a dream, and he remember it as such. He was also on a lot of drugs at the time. He's completely different now and I trust him. He's the sweetest guy I've ever met, and to be honest I can't connect him to that person who were all over the media. Well, we started dating a month ago. And I brought him home to meet my mother yesterday and she recognized him. She didn't say anything to his face, but called me today. She was completely freaking out and telling me I can't date a murderer. I told her what I've told you. He was psychotic, he's not the same person who did that, and he's heavily medicated with no intentions of stopping, but she was just completely freaking out, telling me she feared for my safety and she wouldn't have anything to do with him and I had to leave him immediately. I told her that wasn't going to happen and she said that as long as I'm dating him she doesn't want to see me and he's ultimately going to kill me. I understand completely she's fearful and anxious about the situation, but I still think she's overreacting. It wasn't a deliberate murder and it honestly annoys me to no end that she thinks that I'm not able to judge his character. So yeah, how do I get my mom to accept this situation? Am I just doomed to not see her again? Could really use some input. TLDR, boyfriend killed someone in a psychotic breakdown 10 years ago. Mom won't accept him and says she won't speak to me. Update. Hi, thanks for the responses in the last thread. A lot of people told me things I didn't want to hear, like I couldn't judge a person after knowing him for 6 months, which I still kinda think you can, just not as much as I hoped. I guess some people expect something crazy to have happened, but nothing really has. He just weren't as empathetic as I thought. I realized pretty quickly that if I didn't call him first, he wouldn't call me for days. And when I told him I had a very unpleasant encounter with a guy, he just laughed and told me that if it were him, he would be happy to get the attention. And I just couldn't get over that he killed a guy, honestly. When I was laying in bed and he was doing something else, I couldn't stop thinking about how vulnerable I was. I didn't feel safe, so I broke up with him. I still think he deserves happiness, and to move on from what he did, but I'm not the one for him and I can't help him. My mom was very relieved when I told her we broke up. I didn't tell her why, just that it didn't work out, and although she didn't cut me out of her life like she threatened, she's been a lot warmer towards me since. About the breakup, he actually took it so well that I don't think he was ever really in love with me. It was basically me breaking up and him saying, "You gotta do what's best for you, so I wish you good luck." I'm kinda heartbroken that I apparently didn't mean that much to him, but I'm still fine. We still talk though, which is probably stupid, but he's a fun guy to talk to, and I don't feel like I can judge him for doing something while on a psychotic breakdown. Also, as I stated in the last thread, he has no intentions of stopping with his medication. He knows he needs it for the rest of his life, and as long as he follows that, he'll probably continue to be in my life. TLDR, I broke up with him. Top comments. Commenter 1. And when I told him I had a very unpleasant encounter with a guy, he just laughed and told me that if it were him, he would be happy to get the attention. Jesus. And as long as he follows that, he'll probably continue to be in my life. Just having him in your life is still a risk. It was a friend that he killed, after all. And you can't guarantee that he will stay on that medication, even if he insists he will. Commenter 2. I don't feel like I can judge him for doing something while on a psychotic breakdown. That, doing something, happened to be murdering somebody. So you broke up with him, he didn't seem to care, and you want to stay friends? I'm guessing you are keeping this part from your mother. Just because you have removed the label from your relationship, doesn't mean you are out of danger, if any danger was present to begin with. So basically all you have done is, broke up, to hide the fact you are still seeing him from your mother. Jesus OP, I think you need some help here. Naivety, lack of common sense and self-esteem seem to be big issues here. Stories number 16. I, 32F, don't know how to react to my husband's, 36M, birthday surprise. Together 8 years, married 7 years. So, I guess I just want to know if I'm crazy, how other men might plan their wife's birthday celebration given the conversation, and if you'd be surprised at my reaction. About a month ago my husband, 36M, asks me, 32F, what I want to do for my birthday. I say I'd like to take a trip for the weekend. He specifically asks if I want a bunch of people involved or if I want it to be just the two of us. I tell him, just the two of us. My birthday though, almost always falls on Mother's Day weekend, and for the past couple of years we've gone out of town and missed the holiday for my mom. So I say, maybe we can go to celebrate my birthday either the weekend before or after so we can spend Mother's Day with Mom. Cool, no problem. I text my mom a couple days later who says she has to work and can't do anything anyways. So I let him know the weekend is free for whatever he wants to plan. So today, he asks if I'd like to know where we're going for my birthday. The conversation goes, husband, do you want to know where we're going for your birthday? Me, yes, I can start planning my outfits. Husband, we're going to Alabama. Me, really? Alabama? What's in Alabama? Husband, it's right on the border of GATN near Chattanooga. My aunt and uncle live near Chattanooga. Me, we're not going to visit aunt and uncle, are we? Husband, no. Me, did you tell them we're coming? Him, yeah. Me, aw man, I just wanted it to be the two of us. Him, well then you're really not going to like what I'm about to say. Your mom, little sister, older sister, and nephew are also coming. Me, a little speechless because I think he must be kidding, but disappointment growing in my voice. But I thought we were going away, just the two of us. This then becomes an exchange of him telling me I'm ungrateful, how hard he worked to plan all this, and that he thought I'd want to spend Mother's Day and my birthday all together as a family, and me trying to explain my reaction based on prior conversations, my expectations being based on what we talked about previously, and truly being impressed that he could get my family together for this. We hung up suddenly because he had to go. I felt bad, I could hear the hurt in his voice because he thought he was giving me what I wanted, but I just don't understand how when I thought I made it pretty clear. So back to the questions up top. Would you be surprised at my reaction given the conversations prior? Am I ungrateful? Am I justified in being disappointed? How would you all have gone about plans with the conversations that were had? Stories number 17. Why would my girlfriend say this to me? I have a girlfriend who is 27 and is now engaged to her man, but has been around a lot in the past. I don't know what her exact count is, but I would guess it is probably around 40 give or take. I am 26F and she always says how it's not a good thing that I still haven't been with anyone because men don't want to be dealing with that. I'm really confused because a lot of times I hear men say they value purity in a woman. By the way, I'm not waiting for marriage, I'm just waiting until I find my person that I want to spend my life with and feel fully comfortable with in that way. I haven't really put much attention into my dating life until recently. Just don't understand why she says this. Does she just feel guilty about her promiscuous past and wants to justify her actions by convincing herself that men like more experienced women? Why should she be jealous or insecure at this point if she's engaged to her forever man? I want to hear from the men on this one. Edit. I feel like even with other things in life, when I'm thinking about taking a certain job or doing some type of volunteer work, her first reaction is always like, are you sure that's a good idea, or why would you want to do that? Stories number 18. Aita for choosing my roommate's business over a big family reunion after how my family acted. About 3 years ago, I left my ex. He wasn't a horrible guy or anything, but I was unhappy. He was obsessed with a video game and did some weird things on it. We had a dead bedroom and he wouldn't work on it, and we just shifted into roommates really. I didn't have enough saved for my own place, but I knew if I didn't leave I'd end up stuck. I'd asked members of my family if I could stay with them until I had things figured out and had a plan for roughly 1 month, up to 2 months. They all declined, so I lived in my car for a while. My family is big on pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, no handouts, accept the consequences of your choices, etc., so I was not surprised. I did not have local friends to ask. Thankfully, after a few months, my high school friend Penny moved back to town and invited me to be her roommate, and that's where I am now. Now for the conflict, lol. My mom asked me what I was doing in August because they were trying to get everyone to Florida for a family reunion. They had made reservations and things under the assumption I'd go. A while ago, Penny asked me if I could help her out at her craft fairs this year. She does 10 to 15 of them and it's a big to-do. She sells gorgeous jewelry and ceramics. I gladly accepted. I told my mom that I had plans over the summer and wouldn't be able to come. She got angry with me and asked me what plans could be better than a trip to Florida. I explained what I'd be doing, and she scoffed. She told me that this was probably the last time we'd all get to be with some of the older family. She said I have no sense of familial obligation. Suddenly there's a family obligation for me to pay to travel to Florida and spend time with people who wouldn't even help me out when I needed it. I went to family dinners where at the end of the night I'd leave and go sleep in my car in the Walmart parking lot and nobody blinked. I brought that up to my mom and she immediately said that my own bad choices are why I ended up living in my car and they were not required to coddle me as a grown woman. I said it goes both ways. She said I was being a petty brat. I ended the call. My sister later called me about it and asked me what my problem was and why I'm still holding ancient grudges against the rest of them and how this trip was supposed to be a big reset for the family. I do know that there are a few members of my family I probably won't see again if I don't go. This is the main reason I wonder if I'm just holding on to hurt or if it's justified for me to do this. Aita for not going to the family reunion and picking my roommate instead. Stories number 19. Aita for attacking my almost BAL with wedding cake when he tried to prank the bride. As you can see, I have deleted the information. I did not ask my sister before posting and she was not okay with it when I showed her all the support. So I am an Aita after all. Everything has been screenshot and if when she is comfortable I will edit it back. Everything I am writing now has her support. This was a fantastic response. I'm so elated with all the people writing that I was right and that she was so smart in ending it. We cried about it and she seems to feel more secure in the decision to dump him. She is really scared of being victim blamed for agreeing to marry him knowing he likes pranks, but none of you have done that so she is feeling so good now. I am really grateful to you. Sis is out of the overthinking phase and smiles right now. Future plans. She is gonna post the screenshots and link to this in the wedding group. I wish I could be a fly on the wall when the bad ones reads the comments. Posting the video is per now a no-go. We are also visible in the video and she doesn't want to go viral today. But she wants her apartment, things, car, and peas back more. So this is a threat MF, leave us alone with no harm to her stuff or I'm posting the security video everywhere. Good luck suing me, a European back with no ties to your country. Speaking of suing, can a person on student visa sue an American in the US? Advice much appreciated. And mofo, that's threat number 2, we hadn't truly thought about the dangers inside the cake. The caterers removed it while we were settling, sister. That was terrifyingly eye-opening. I was all about protecting her superficially and she was thinking about the betrayal, humiliation and broken heart. I have already contacted the bakery but it looks from their website that they use support spikes. That makes this assault with a weapon. I'm so on a warpath now and all I am waiting for is bitch doing anything bad. Some questions we can answer. We have applied for temporary restraining order for the whole family. Yes, it was their side, mostly older men calling me wild and overreacting. The delay with the wedding certificate was some documents to get my sister a green card. She is on student visa and we're planning on transferring to a marriage visa. A lot of his issue was apparently how I had humiliated him. A jock-sized dude versus 2 little women and he lost was apparently hilarious to his friends. I'm laughing a little about how bad those people are even to each other. You really have nobody. And you humiliated you that day. I am humiliating you here. See the difference? We spend almost nothing towards this wedding. Our own travel and dresses, and sister paid for her dress and glam but everything party and paperwork was paid for by his family. And we are apparently so hypocritical because sis is not mad at me for spilling cake on her veil, smudge not soak, but is dumping him for, as he says, the exact same thing. Thank you all so much. Stories number 20. Aita for suggesting adoption when my girlfriend told me she's pregnant. I, 25M, am a Marine and my girlfriend, 24F, is in the Navy. We've been dating for about a year and a half. We don't live on the same base, but we've made things work as best we can with our schedules. A couple of weeks ago, she called me and told me she's 3 months pregnant. She was a little nervous but seemed excited too. I told her I was surprised, but I'd be there for her. After I had time to really think about everything, I called her back and said we should at least talk about all our options including adoption. I told her it's not that I don't care, but we're both active duty, in different places, and both have deployments coming up. I'm worried we won't be able to give the baby a stable life right now. I grew up in a home where my parents were barely around, and I don't want to put a child through that. She got really upset. She said I was basically telling her to give the baby away and that it felt like I didn't want to be a dad. I told her that's not what I meant, I just wanted to have an honest conversation about what we're capable of doing right now. Since then, she hasn't really talked to me. She's been distant and barely responding to my messages. I feel bad for upsetting her, but I also feel like I'm just trying to be realistic and make sure we think everything through before jumping into a huge decision. Aita for suggesting adoption. Stories number 21. I took some Benadryl and it has forever completely changed me. I should have known I'd end up here. What started as a way to sleep a little easier turned into something that's taken over my life. I started taking Benadryl a while ago just to help knock me out. But over time, it stopped being about sleep. I started taking more. And more. I liked the way it made everything feel distant. Like I could turn off my brain. I've talked about it before, as some of you have read. I told myself I was in control. That I could stop whenever I wanted. But that was a lie. I've been hospitalized now. My body couldn't keep up with what I was doing to it. I was hallucinating, disoriented, a shell of myself, hearing my dead mother, seeing the Hat Man, feeling trapped in my own skin. The doctors told me I was lucky to even make it in. Lucky. That word feels weird when you're strapped to a hospital bed wondering what the hell you've done to yourself. Even now, even after everything, there's still this part of me that wants to go back to it. It scares the hell out of me. I feel like I've rewired my brain and now I can't find the way back to normal. I don't even remember what normal feels like. I have no one to talk to. Maybe just to get it off my chest. Maybe because I feel like I'm screaming into a void and hoping someone hears me. I don't want to be this person. I want out. I can't keep going like this. I have seen things I can't explain and things I don't know how to explain, like smells, creatures, and I've felt like I've been floating in a world beyond my understanding. Stories number 22. My sister called me an idiot for paying off her credit card 10 years ago. I, 32F, have helped my sister, 34F, a lot financially for the past 5 years. I'll be blunt, she's broke, and I have had a decent income since my early 20s. A couple of years ago, I paid off her credit card in full as she was having trouble affording rent, is single mother with a 6-year-old son, etc. We recently went on a trip to visit our younger sister, and I paid for her flight, hotel, meals, rental car, everything. We got in a fight while on this trip, and I asked her why she doesn't appreciate anything I ever do for her. I mentioned paying off her debt a couple years back, and she replied, that was 10 years ago. I didn't ask for you to do it. You're just an idiot and pay for everything. So since then I don't pay for shit, obviously. A month or so after this trip, I got a text from her asking if I could help with her rent. I didn't respond at first, but a few days later I asked if she was okay and if she still needed help. Apparently she took out a loan and told me no, all is fine. Now I'm hearing from my little sister that she's saying I refused to help her and told her I hope she gets evicted. And this was after I reached out offering help. I'm beyond pissed and done with her. I offered her help, and she's throwing a pity party and painting me as a horrible sister. I guess I was an idiot for paying off her card years ago. Added context, we were extremely close, basically best friends growing up. Her behavior changed immensely the past couple years. Stories number 23. Wedding photographer posting weddings from 2025 on her socials, and we still don't have pictures from 2024. I'm at my wit's end and just need to complain a bit. We got married 10/19/2024. At the reception, as she said goodbye, she said we would get sneak peek images in about a week. We never did, but I didn't think anything of it, since they aren't in the contract and October is pretty busy. But now we're nearly 6 months post-wedding and she has not sent us a single photo. She has been apologetic when we message her for updates, but it is just so frustrating and disheartening to see her post other weddings that happened well after ours, when we are still waiting. She said she would have them to us by this Sunday or issue a partial refund. She has given us 2 other self-imposed deadlines that she has missed. We're close to legal action, but still trying not to be too harsh as we do not want anything to happen to the photos. Any experience or words of encouragement appreciated. Thanks for reading. Sum of comments. Commenter, same thing happened to me. I finally was like, you said you uploaded them but have no provided a link. And she was like, oh silly me. When I logged in, it had shown the photos were uploaded for a week before she sent them to us. These people are supervillains. Reply, Yarrow. I understand that no one cares about our weddings as much as we do. But why do they treat paying customers this way? Mind-boggling. Legit feels like she's dangling a carrot in front of us. Commenter, she lost your pictures. She either deleted them or the storage medium was damaged or lost. The only other alternative is that she is super pissed off at you or hates you. Otherwise she would have sent you the raw, unedited photos or proofs by now. Reply, I won't lie that my brain did jump to the conclusion of oh great she thinks we're hideous and hates us and can't stand to look at our photos. But nothing has happened before or during the wedding that would make that make sense. Just my anxiety lol. The photographer's excuses. Same here. She said her mom broke her ankle so she lost childcare, then her whole family got the flu, then her grandma had a medical thing. And you're right, I don't want to piss her off and she half-asses them. Just sucks so much. Commenter, does your contract have a time limit? If not then I would comment on her socials publicly but be nice. Like love this work but we had our wedding 6 months ago, when will our photos be done? Reply, our contract stated 12 to 16 weeks. We're at 23. OOP answers some questions. Contract said 16 weeks and we're at 23 now. The one she just posted I found the couple's Facebook and it was definitely just sneak peeks, but the wedding occurred on 3/15/25. And the bride posted like 40 photos. At this point really nervous something happened to the files. I wish she would just be upfront if that is the case, instead of leaving me here wondering. Commenter, did you end up getting the photos? Reply, she texted my husband that they are exported as of this morning and she is uploading the gallery, so fingers crossed we get them today, crossed fingers crossed fingers crossed fingers. Update, we are still waiting. Sunday she messaged my husband an update that the gallery was exporting. Yesterday we got another update that the gallery was uploading to her site. So we got really excited and hopeful. But that was yesterday around 8:30 AM and still no sign of the pics. Just keep your fingers crossed for us, grimacing face. Comment update. We are miserable, thanks for asking. I started getting slightly meaner in my texts asking for updates, because seriously does it take 3 days to upload photos, and she is leaving me undelivered. We're taking turns asking for updates every day. I'm hoping to make a big update post once we get them, crossed fingers crossed fingers. Update post 1. First of all, thank you all for the kind words, support and advice. It's good, but also terrible, to know we are not alone. To anyone that lost their wedding photos, I am so sorry. On to the update, still no photos. She texted my husband on her deadline of Sunday 3:30 saying the gallery was exporting and we got really excited. Monday she says they are uploading to her site. Tuesday we get one last update from her saying they are 78% uploaded. My husband and I were taking turns texting her every day asking for updates. Cricket since then. I just booked a consultation with a lawyer and emailed her that if we do not get the gallery by that appointment, then we will be seeking legal action for breach of contract. Fingers crossed this motivates her to get us the photos and I can cancel that consult. I would love to post my photos to Instagram by our 6-month anniversary. I will keep you guys updated and hopefully my next post is some of the photos. Some of comments. Commenter, yeah, this 78% upload thing is an arbitrary number to get you off her ass. If it were 5% you'd be pissy and 99% would have you expecting it tomorrow. This photographer is playing games and will FAFO. Reply, I had this thought too. Does she think we're stupid? Unless she has dial-up or something, they should not 24 hours to upload. Commenter, has she even sent you a screenshot? After all that, no proof the photos still exist. Reply, nope, not a single proof of life photo. Commenter, I assume all wedding guests have at least some decent photos. Reply, luckily my mother-in-law is obsessed with taking photos, so we do have a decent amount. Just not any staged whole family ones I was hoping for. If when it's confirmed those photos are gone, I will be asking all my guests for literally any photos they took. Update post. We have photos. They exist. And they're beautiful. Thanks again for all the support and advice. My husband said time to update my Reddit fan base LMAO. We had the meeting with the lawyer yesterday. He left her a voicemail for us and that must have scared her enough that she texted me 30 minutes later, and what do you know, the gallery was in our inbox at 1:30 AM. Absolutely no idea why she held on to them that long. We could still pursue a partial refund but unsure if we will. I am just relieved we have photos, but also low-key still pissed that it had to get to the point where I had to threaten legal. Finally I can breathe, we graduated. Edit, here is a couple photos. Some of comments. Commenter, now download them before she removes them from the link. Reply, way ahead of you. Commenter, what's the blotch in the second photo? Did she not edit them? Reply, I'm pretty sure it's a leaf falling. The poor editing, lack of editing, including the leaf in a picture. I liked the leaf lol. But as much as it pains me, she half asked them, the longer I look, you can see I have blemishes on my face in some. I am going to pursue a refund. I am not gonna bother asking her for revisions. I have a friend that does freelance photography. She said she would touch some up for me. Commenter, editing takes 1 to 2 full days the most. Why she took that long tbh, as a wedding photographer. Reply, my brother and I's best guess is she just was procrastinating them and just locked in last night since I spooked her with the law. Stories number 24. My daughter's dance teacher invited her to a sleepover at her house. Wipta for formally complaining. My daughter is 7, she's been taking ballet lessons since she was 4, but has only been enrolled in this particular dance school for about a year. There are only 6 other girls in her class, all around her age, and she has 2 lessons a week. Anyway, earlier this week my daughter came home with an invitation from her teacher. She's inviting the girls, all 7 of them, to spend the night at her house on the last weekend of April. According to my daughter, the teacher told the girls that it's a slumber party. The pitch apparently included McDonald's, movies and games. I've spoken to the other moms and they've all confirmed that their daughters got the same invitation. None of us have been notified by the school, so I have to assume the teacher is planning this on her own. She has not spoken to any of us about this directly, only to our daughters. Some of the girls seem to be excited, but my daughter is still anxious about spending the night away from us, so she wouldn't be going even if I was okay with this, which I'm not. I have never spoken to this teacher about anything besides my child, nor do I know anything about her personal life or home. I've been thinking of complaining to the dance school about this, because I've never heard of teachers doing this before and I'm a little freaked out. But at least 2 of the other moms don't seem to have a problem with it, and I can't help but wonder whether I'm overreacting. Is this normal? Honestly, I just need some advice here. Update, my daughter's dance teacher invited her to a sleepover at her house. Wipta for formally complaining. Thank you all for your input. A lot has happened, but I'll try to keep this short. I won't waste time and try to convince anyone to like me. If you've already decided I'm a true crime-obsessed neurotic helicopter parent Karen with diaper energy and social anxiety issues, I don't think there's much I can say that will change your mind. And yes, I've heard of lock-ins. My son had one with his swim team last year. He's a bit older, it happened at the pool, guardians were informed before the children were and one of the other parents chaperoned. It's not the same thing as an unofficial sleepover at a teacher's house. All of that said, I never intended to risk this woman's job, I was just worried. So I spoke to my husband, and we decided to take your advice and speak to my daughter's teacher first. He spoke to her while picking up our daughter last week. He said the conversation went fine, but he was bothered by her reaction when he said our daughter wouldn't attend. He told the teacher our kid was anxious, but she replied that the sleepover would be a great opportunity for her to come out of her shell, and that we should try to encourage our daughter to come. During the conversation, my husband also found out the following. She came up with the sleepover idea because she wanted to bond with the girls and figured it would be fun. She didn't ask for another parent to act as a chaperone because her husband had offered to help her, first time she ever mentioned his existence. When asked about what she'd do in case of emergency, she just stated she lived about 10 minutes away from a hospital. She didn't ask for the parents' contact information because she didn't think of it. After he told me all this, I decided to email the dance school. I wrote that the teacher was planning a sleepover, about which the parents had not received a lot of information. 2 days later, we all got an email from the teacher, stating she was canceling the sleepover due to a complaint from the dance school. She also apologized for not being more transparent with us. Some of the other moms are planning another sleepover at one of their houses so that the girls won't be upset. Not sure where or when it will happen yet, but I'm trying to keep up to date. Ultimately, even though I still don't know what the sleepover would have been like, I don't regret this. When it comes to my children, I'd rather be paranoid and wrong than regretful and right. If I complained and it turned out to be a completely innocent event, I'd feel embarrassed, even after apologizing, but it might be something I could laugh about someday. If I let my daughter go and something happened to her, or any of the other girls, would never forgive myself. I will reply to comments for the next day or so, but I won't update again. Thank you all. Stories number 25. Aita for explaining to my future SIL why her kids will never receive anything from us. I, 27F, have a brother, 33M, who has been dating his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years and he proposed a couple of months ago. Sarah has 2 kids from her previous relationship 8M and 6F. I would say that my parents and I are not very close to Sarah and her kids, but we are cordial and never had any problems before. My partner, bro and Sarah attended the Easter dinner at my parents' and that's when the drama happened. Sarah's kids were at their father's, so Sarah used this celebration to confront us about my brother requesting a prenup. Basically my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. This is something that we as a family discussed before, and we all agree that only our children should receive assets or money from our inheritance. My brother is free to pay whatever he wants for his stepchildren out of his own money, but my children and his bio children will never have to share anything that our family has with them. Sarah claimed that we are being unfair and that we are treating her and her kids like some strangers instead of embracing them like family. She said that the normal and decent thing to do was for us to see her kids like my brother's kids, who should have equal rights to any children they may have together. I told her sure, after she gets married to my brother she will become our in-law and her kids will be my brother's stepchildren, but this does not mean we have to share anything with them. I asked her, will my future kids receive anything from her parents or from their bio father's parents? She said no, obviously, so I asked her, then why would her kids be entitled to receive anything from us? Sarah said because they will be our family, so I told her that we have plenty of cousins that are also family, but I don't go around wishing to share my inheritance with them. There was a lot more back and forth between us and Sarah was not letting this go. My brother asked her to stop because we were there to celebrate Easter, not to have this kind of conversation, but she kept on going, saying we need to clarify it once and for all. I told her from where we stand everything is clear and it is only her who has a problem. She said we are greedy and cruel to some kids and I snapped. I told her to deal with it. She is free to work her ass off and gather assets to leave to her children, but we will never divide anything outside of our family, and she should not expect her children to be our problem or burden to finance. I honestly feel she is very manipulative and is using my brother for what she and her kids can get from him, but that's my brother's problem to decide if this is the kind of partner he wants. I just want to know if I was too blunt in telling her the truth. Stories number 26. Wibta for asking my future brother-in-law and his wife to return an expensive gift I gave them after they limit contact with me. I, 35F, have been with my partner, Jamie, 33M, for over 6 years and we're getting married this fall. For most of our relationship, I've had a close bond with his brother, Matt, 37M, and Matt's wife, Claire, 39F. We've shared holidays, dinners, hangouts, and I've always done what I could to support them, especially during hard times. I am the primary source of income. About 2 months ago, I bought a new car and offered them my old car, $6.5 thousand. It was still in good working condition and they accepted it, so I fully transferred it over to them. It was a genuine gift, from a place of love and support, and I was happy to help because they relied 100% on public transportation. Over the past years, I also gave small things, like household items, groceries, things for their kid, all meant kindly, never with any expectations. But now things have shifted. Claire recently initiated a conversation where she said the gifts and emotional support I offered had felt too much, overwhelming, etc., and even went as far as saying she felt I was using them to fulfill my own emotional needs. She said she no longer feels comfortable around me and wants to limit contact, i.e. don't text them unless they text first, and slow down. This completely blindsided me. I was never given any indication before that she felt this way. One example Claire brought up really confused me. They have a shy cat, Shadow, who hides whenever we visit. We've never seen her in person and it became a running joke between me and Jamie that she might not actually exist, a reference to the M&M Christmas commercial, he does exist. Claire said she found that joke offensive, like we were mocking a traumatized animal. That felt like a major overreaction to something lighthearted and affectionate. Now here's the part that's really been weighing on me. Claire and Matt have made it clear they don't want any more gifts or support and that our relationship needs distance. Gifts for their kid are okay. And they're still happy to keep the car I gave them, something that came from a time when our relationship was close, warm, and mutual. To be clear, I haven't asked for the car back. But I've been thinking about sending a message, not demanding anything, but pointing out the emotional disconnect, that they've rejected ongoing support, suggested past support was not genuine yet have no issue keeping such a significant gift, the car. I want to ask them to reflect on what that means. Jamie is supportive of whatever decision I make, but he's worried this might further rupture things with his family. His mom also relies on Matt and Claire for transportation to our wedding, and he's concerned that asking for the car back, or even just bringing it up, might make that more complicated. So, Wipta for wanting to ask them to reflect on this. Or even possibly asking for the car back. Stories number 27. Brother's new wife banned him from playing games with us, found out last night and having a hard time being happy for him today. I, 22F, am currently out of town for my older brother's, 28M, wedding, which is happening today. He's marrying a woman he's been dating for about 10 months, and they only decided to get married last month. It all happened really fast. Since he lives across the country, the only way we really hang out is by playing video games together. It's something we've done for as long as I can remember, me, him, and our younger brother, 19M. It's not like we play constantly or all night, just a couple hours here and there, nothing crazy. It's always been our way of staying connected. His now wife has made it really clear that she hates video games. From early on, she told him she didn't like him playing, and eventually told him she didn't want him playing with us at all. He tried to compromise, and for a little while, she allowed some limited gaming. But last night, the night before his wedding, he told me that she's officially put her foot down, no more games. At all. She told him they're a waste of time and he should be using that time to do more for himself. I didn't know what to say. He already knows how I feel, how we feel, our younger brother and I. But it's clear that this is her boundary, and because it's his fiancée, now wife, there's not really space for us to say anything without it seeming like we're being unsupportive. And I want to be supportive. I want to be happy for him today, but what really gets me is how much he's given up for her already. It's like he's constantly adjusting, compromising, bending to fit into her life, and she refuses to give him anything back. She won't even let him have this, a couple hours here and there with his siblings doing something we've always done. I'm sad that it feels like we're losing our brother to someone who doesn't seem to value the connection we have. And sad that it feels like there's no room for us anymore unless we change or just quietly back away. I don't want to make this day about me. I really don't. I want to be happy for him. But it hurts more than I thought it would, especially since he only told us last night. I don't know. Stories number 28. AIO for leaving my own birthday party because of a surprise my girlfriend planned. So I, 25M, just had what was supposed to be a great birthday. My girlfriend, 26F, threw me a surprise party, her first time ever organizing something like that for me, and I was genuinely touched, at first. She rented out this cozy event space, invited friends, co-workers, my mom and sister. A lot of effort went into it. When I walked in and everyone yelled, "Surprise!" I actually got a bit emotional. Then I saw him, my dad. The man who walked out on my family when I was 15 after cheating on my mom with her best friend. We lost our house, my mom went through a full-blown depression, and I basically became a third parent to my younger sister. I haven't spoken to him since the day he left. He's reached out a couple of times over the years, but I ignored every attempt. So imagine my shock when I see him standing there, holding a gift bag, grinning like he's Santa Claus. I froze. He said, "Happy birthday, son. I've missed you." Then tried to hug me. I stepped back and just stared at him. Then I looked around the room, and noticed that some people were watching me closely. Like they were expecting this. I walked out without saying a word. Got in my car and drove off. Turns out, my girlfriend knew everything about my dad. I had told her in detail, multiple times, how much damage he caused. Not only that, she coordinated with him behind my back for weeks. She even got my mom and sister to agree not to tell me, claiming she just wanted to heal the family. What really stings is that she told some of my friends, too. She told them she thought it was time I moved on and that this would be a moment of closure. So yeah, this wasn't just a surprise, it was a setup. Now she's accusing me of ruining my party, humiliating her, and being immature. She keeps saying she was trying to do something beautiful and meaningful. Some of her friends even messaged me saying I should be grateful that someone cares that much. But my mom and sister are furious. My sister left the party right after I did. My mom said she felt manipulated, but stayed because she didn't want to make a scene. I've barely spoken to my girlfriend since. She thinks I'm being cruel. I think I was ambushed. What do you guys think? Am I overreacting? Stories number 29. Advice for women going to ER: don't appear to be lower class. Don't be in so much pain that you skipped full grooming before you went in. Don't be stoic, but don't be histrionic either. I have a massively, existentially painful infection in my leg. Childbirth and kidney stones hurt more, but this is a close third. It feels like white-hot radioactive nanites busily dismantling my body from the bone marrow out. At this point, I have no idea how to express that I am in acute ongoing pain without some street-smart medical professional deciding that since I am disheveled and not actually in an ambulance, I'm probably a drug seeker and are not that badly off. I have been suppressing audible expression of pain because I don't want to be that person, so I can't very well start now. That would seem fake at this point. When triage asked me what my pain was like 1 to -10, I said 7, because that was true, but I don't know why they ask if it means nothing. My blood pressure was up 25 points, which was kind of shocking, but the triage nurse said, "That'll come down when you decide you like me." What? It couldn't possibly be the pain. The pain is actually causing my heart to flutter. I honestly can't get a handle on how exactly to perform pain in an eminently believable way that means they will address it. Pass out maybe. Update. They just released me with a prescription for the infection, which is the main thing I really wanted, and one for Motrin. Remind me not to get, hit by a car or anything. Stories number 30. Aita for repeatedly confronting my husband about not helping with our baby, even though we both agreed to take time off to raise her together. My husband and I have both worked really hard over the years, and when we found out we were expecting, we agreed we'd both take time off to focus on raising our daughter in her first year. It sounded like a dream plan and something we were both genuinely excited about. Fast forward to now, our little one is 6 months old, and things have not gone how I expected. While my husband does cook and I handle all the cleaning, a dynamic that's worked for us in the past, when it comes to the baby, everything falls on me. I do all the feeds, naps, diaper changes, nighttime wake-ups, which happen 3 to 4 times a night, soothing, carrying, everything. She's heavy and my shoulder is constantly in pain. I'm exhausted physically and mentally. Meanwhile, my husband spends most of his time on the couch watching TV, scrolling through reels, or going to the gym. If I ask for help or even just express how tired I am, he says I'm being negative and throws gender roles into the mix, implying that this is just what mothers do. Apparently, I'm the problem because of my negative aura. I didn't sign up to do this alone, and I'm starting to feel like a single parent despite him being right there. But every time I bring it up, he acts like I'm attacking him or ruining the vibe. So, Aita for being frustrated and constantly bringing up how little he helps with our baby. Stories number 31. I pushed for better sex for years and I regret it. Over the course of our 20-year marriage, my wife, Anne, and I would occasionally butt heads over our sex life. I was searching for ways to make it more exciting and keeping it new, while I perceived and as being satisfied with the status quo in the bedroom. We would have heavy discussions about sex and it generally made it a heavy and serious topic for us, not playful. What I realized through self-reflection over the last few years was that I was too focused on what I perceived as missing from our sex life rather than being grateful for what we had. We always had strong attraction toward each other, and although I have the higher libido, she enjoys sex. But I wanted more, and better, and different. And that got in the way of either of us being happy and satisfied with what we do have. So about 6 months ago I made a conscious decision to stop striving and searching for a better sex life for us, and just to be patient and grateful and let it happen. Removing the burden of expectations has made all the difference, and initiates more. To paint the picture, TMI warning, over the past 6 weeks alone, she's, 1, jumped in the shower with me with a big smile, initiating and doing most of the work, 2, waited for me on our bed while the kids were out, wearing only a sock draped across her chest and another draped between her legs, asking for sex but also making a point that I hadn't put my socks away, lol, free. Interrupted a meditation session to let me know that we had 20 minutes free until the kids got home, undressed me on the family room couch and went down on me to get me in the mood and, 4, after I gave her a long foot rub, walked me to the bedroom, sat me down on the bed, got on her knees and gave me oral followed by a scalp and face massage. I feel like if I had been a little less demanding and gone with the flow earlier in our marriage, this could have been our vibe for years. I was the problem, not Anne. I'm passing this along to younger husbands in particular, to recommend you be grateful for what you have, and to let your wife be the sexual woman she's comfortable being, to grow into whomever that is. It may pay dividends, and even if it doesn't show up right away, you'll remove a self-imposed point of friction in your marriage. Stories number 32. New barber told me to remove my toupee first. I have a full head of hair. I've recently moved to a new city and I needed to get a haircut. I just randomly entered a barber shop close to my place. It was just a small, normal little place. The barber was a man around 30-something. When it was my turn, I told him to just trim the sides and make it short up top. Imagine my surprise when the dude said in the most serious voice possible, "Sir, you'll have to remove your toupee first before I can cut your hair," and I was like, wait. Did I hear that right? I replied, dude, that's my real hair, and it sent the other customers into hysterics. The barber was pretty embarrassed about it and he kept complimenting my hair afterwards, but I could barely stop myself from laughing or wondering if I should take it as a compliment, or not. I am still wondering what could have made my real hair look like a toupee from that up close. Note that I have straight silky dark hair, and I hadn't gotten a haircut in 6 months when I usually keep it buzzed. Stories number 33. Aita for agreeing to help a woman beggar at the grocery store and then bailing on her. I was going into my local grocery store to get a few things and a woman outside stopped me and asked if I would get something for her kids. I would prefer to buy something from a store than give out money because I know exactly what it's being used for, not drugs or alcohol, so I agreed. She insisted on coming into the store with me. We go in and she beelines it to the laundry aisle and picks out the most expensive detergent, around $30 to $40. She tells me she needs to wash her daughter's clothes. I reluctantly agreed and started walking her towards the checkout. Then she starts saying she hasn't washed her hair and picks out a shampoo, soap, and conditioner. Not the grocery store brand either, that's fairly cheap, but the name brand stuff. It seemed like she was intentionally picking out the most expensive items in the aisle. I get in line and she joins me with like 7 or 8 things now in her arms, probably adding up to $80 to $100. I froze for a minute, not knowing what to do. It was a long line that day, so I had a few minutes to process. Finally I just told her I was sorry and walked out with her standing in line holding the items. I walked a few streets over to a smaller grocery store and got everything I needed. My gut tells me she was trying to rip me off, but I also felt awful thinking about the look on her face as I turned to leave and how embarrassing it must have been for her to be stood in line after that or putting the items back. The money wasn't insignificant, but it wouldn't have been missed from my account. I would have liked to have done something nice for someone, but the whole experience felt off, and now I'm worried I did the exact opposite of a good deed and left someone hanging. Stories number 34. I microwaved my dad's iPhone and never told him. I regret nothing. I am at work, so I went to the bathroom and called him, because it feels like it's worth trying, he said, in a different language, but with the same tone. What? I have no idea what you are talking about. So I explained the story in deeper details, still nothing. All until I told him about a detail that I can add here for privacy reasons, and immediately he understood. He thought it was funny and he said I gotta get him dinner when I see him next, since I am finally the one with a job and that you fried my fucking phone, in his words. To which I replied that it was never his because it's a company phone. To which he told me to shut up and get ready because he will order lobster and caviar. There is no such place close to his, and it's his usual joke when we go out for dinner, a joke that I use too, but I think he means it, haha. So yeah, he took it well, hoping he won't break the bank, but lol, we only live once and our parents are the only ones who are always there for us. Please dad, do not get lobster, I need to buy a car. Pretty please. He has no idea what Reddit is. Original post. I was around 8 years old and my father was working as a journalist, for a fancy company. He was out all day and he received cool cutting-edge work phones, computers and cool tech all the time. I think he had an iPhone 3GS, which at that time was a big deal. One day I came home from school and I noticed that he had forgotten his work phone on the kitchen table. I started checking it out and fiddling with it, but I knew it was important, so I did not mess anything up, yet. I started playing with the camera and I was very amused by it. So much so that I started making little videos of mundane things like my reflection on the window or just the inside of my nose to see what it looked like. Yeah, I was always a bright one. I started looking around for cool video ideas and I thought that it would have been extra cool if I got a video of myself through the microwave door. So I tried and it was lame because it wasn't turning, so why not just turning it on? Suddenly the phone sparked and I freaked out. I pulled it out and it smelled of burnt wires. In my infinite wisdom I decided to just drop it in the sink and open the tap until it was submerged. Well, that did absolutely nothing, but it got the smell to go away. Useless to mention, but the phone was toasted and it had no life left in it. There isn't enough rice in China to revive it. I just left it where I found it, and it looked undamaged. When Dad came home he thought it was just low on battery, so he plugged it in. It sparked just a little. He said he thought he fried his phone and went to get it replaced by his company. Not a word has ever been spoken about it from my side. It was a wild ride for me and it got my adrenaline through the roof as an 8-year-old, but it ended in the best way possible. Plus I got my dad a new phone, did not electrocute him in the process, and I got to learn about lithium-ion battery chemistry. Stories number 35. You're not paid to think. Okay, so I didn't. A few years ago, I worked as a copywriter at a small PR agency run by a tyrant of a boss. Let's call her Marcy. She was all about control. One day during a strategy meeting, I pointed out a huge flaw in a campaign that could have cost our client major money. Her response: "You're not paid to think, you're paid to write what I tell you." Cool. Got it. From that point on, I followed her instructions exactly. No suggestions, no edits, no heads up when things were obviously going sideways. Just pure, flawless compliance. Within 2 months, 2 major clients left over tone-deaf campaigns, ones I had tried to fix but was explicitly told not to. Guess who got blamed? Me. Guess who kept receipts? Also me. I forwarded my "just doing what you told me" email chain to HR. Turns out, this wasn't the first complaint. She was restructured out of the company 3 weeks later. Edit: sorry for using a dash. Apparently that's a no-no. Stories number 36. I am very attracted to my son's friend's mom. My son James has a friend, let's call Ryan. They have known each other for a couple years and were really close for a while and then kinda grew apart for a bit and are now starting to hang out again and seem to get along very well. Originally Ryan's parents were together, but they are now divorced and the father lives in a different state. I've interacted with Ryan's mother a few times now, and I really enjoy her company and it feels very natural. We ended up texting back and forth about basic small talk stuff, but with a little fun, but nothing flirtatious, I would say. The texting conversation got kind of flat toward the end and she was messaging back quickly but with not much to respond to. I'm not sure, but I didn't respond to her last message because I didn't want to seem annoying or whatever. She is absolutely gorgeous. I don't think either of us are really in a position to be in a relationship, but I would love to take her out if she has the same attraction back towards me. My question is, should I even ask her out, and if I did, how do I do it in a way that won't make things weird in the future, as my kid will be hanging out with his friend more and I will be seeing her as a result of that. Stories number 37. Aita for reporting my friend to the university after he cheated using my notes. I, 22 am in med school and have this friend, let's call him Jake. We've studied together a few times, and I shared my annotated notes with him before a big exam. I made them myself, with diagrams, explanations, and even some mnemonics I came up with. A few weeks later, one of our professors used one of my made-up mnemonics in a lecture, crediting an anonymous student. I was confused. Turns out Jake had submitted my notes, with his name on them, to the prof's student tips portal, where students can share study tips for extra credit. He didn't even mention me. I confronted him, he brushed it off and said, "It's just notes, chill." So I reported it to the Academic Honesty Office, since it technically falls under plagiarism. Now he's under investigation and might lose the extra credit, or worse. Our mutual friends are calling me petty and saying I could have just talked to him. Aita. Stories number 38. MIL won't let my daughter take gifts home. Hi all. My daughter is 6 months old and she is my in-laws' only grandchild. With this past Sunday being Easter, my in-laws got my daughter a huge Easter basket full of toys, books and a couple of other things. We went to my in-laws for Easter brunch. As my MIL was showing my daughter all of the things in her basket, I made the comment, "Wow, look at all of those fun toys and books for you." My MIL immediately said, "They are all staying here." Sure enough, as we were packing up to leave, MIL took all of the toys and books out of the basket and all that my daughter got to take home was 2 packs of onesies and a pack of yogurt melts. This is not the first time this has happened. For Christmas, my daughter only got to keep half of the gifts in-laws got her. MIL packed up half of her gifts and took them back to their house. I understand my daughter is little right now, and doesn't know any different, but I suspect this will be an issue as she gets older if this pattern continues. Also, my daughter goes to my in-laws for a couple of hours about every other week, so she spends some time there, but not a ton. I only work part-time and my mom MIL watches her at our house, so she spends majority of her time at our house. I am grateful for the gifts my in-laws get for her. But AIO for being upset that my daughter doesn't get to keep any of her toys for home. Stories number 39. AITA for telling my sister that my boyfriend went to school with her favorite actress. I, 20F, was looking through some of my boyfriend, 21's school photos and saw one with him standing next to a girl who looks shockingly like an actress, 22F, who's quite famous in our country. Played a lead role in 2 very successful series. I asked him if the girl in the photo is who I think she is and he nodded. A few days later I mentioned it during dinner. My sister, 13, has been begging my boyfriend to DM her and ask for a signed photo or calendar. My boyfriend always said no gently, saying he doesn't think it would be appropriate. They were classmates but not close friends and he hasn't spoken a word to her since their last class together back in 2021. My mom told me I shouldn't have told my sister since now she's got her hopes up that my BF might relent and my BF is now in an awkward position. Stories number 40. I feel like men and women would hate each other less if people had more genuine opposite gender friendships. Obviously this is only a tiny part of why there is so much gender-based animosity right now, but I think this is definitely part of it. Gender has never mattered to me that much, and I've had both same and opposite gender friends throughout my entire life. A lot of people I've known over the years have exclusively same gender friends though. The only times that they had tried to foster relationships with the opposite gender is with their family, or through dating. Dating isn't easy, especially online dating. A lot of people aren't having much luck with finding long-term partners, and dating is a process that often comes with lots of rejection, getting ghosted, getting stood up, getting harassed, creeped on, etc., so lots of negative feelings that can make one bitter over time. It struck me that if this is the only avenue where you are having sustained and meaningful interactions with an entire subset of the population, then of course you will end up feeling negatively about them, or having your pre-existing negative feelings reinforced. Women are shallow. Are women shallow in general, or are women on dating apps shallow when they're selecting a stranger from a catalog of faces? Ick, just a thought. I'm still young and don't know much, so this might be super obvious, lol. Edit, I do not think that all men and women hate each other, or even that most do. I've unfortunately encountered a lot of sexist people in my life, probably more than average, and those people are whom I'm basing my post on. Cheers. Stories number 41. My neighbor asked me to stop calling my dog my son because it makes her, a grieving mother, uncomfortable. I told her it's not my job to filter my life for her pain. I, 34 am, have a golden retriever named Oakley. He's my entire world. I don't have kids, by choice, and I've always referred to him as my son. I post about him on social media, I joke with coworkers like, can't stay late, my son needs his walk, and I don't say it sarcastically. That's just how I feel. The other day, I was chatting with a neighbor and said something like, my son kept me up all night, Oakley gets anxious during storms. We laughed and moved on. Later, another neighbor, who lost her adult son a few years back, came over and asked if I'd stop calling my dog that around her. She said it was hurtful and made her uncomfortable. I told her I'm sorry for what she went through, but honestly, I found the request a bit self-centered. I don't mean that harshly, but it's not like I'm walking around mocking her grief, I'm just living my life. I said something like, I get that you're hurting, but Oakley is my son to me. I'm not going to water down how I talk about the most important part of my life to make other people more comfortable. She walked off upset. My wife says I sounded arrogant and could have been more compassionate, but I don't know, I feel like too many people expect the world to tiptoe around their trauma, and it's exhausting. Am I overreacting, or just being real? Edit for context. I went to the funeral. We brought her family food. We've shown support from day one. I've called Oakley my son since he was a puppy, this isn't new or performative. Only now, years later, it suddenly offends her. I'm not mocking her loss, I'm just not changing something that's always been part of my life. If quietly supporting someone through tragedy still makes me the villain for not changing how I talk about my dog, I don't know what to tell you. Stories number 42. My wife, 36F, had a brief office fling and she doesn't know I, 38M, know. Confront or bury. This all happened a month or so ago, my wife's best friend's husband let me know after a few beers. The wife had confided in her friend that basically she had a silly fling, cancelled it all and felt terribly guilty and remorseful. We otherwise have a happy healthy relationship, maybe after 10 years and 2 kids she needed some excitement. Anyway, my question. Do I risk souring our dynamic by asking her about it? Or do I bury it and continue our normal lives? My issue with the later is every now and then I get an unfounded paranoia, but I'm confident there is nothing going on. Will that feeling go or do I have to ask her? I don't want the guilt to hang over the relationship that one of us broke the trust and will be always living up to that. TLDR wife of 10 years cheated, ignore it or confront. Stories number 43. Ended it with the most beautiful woman. I, 33M, had been seeing a, 33F, for a little over a month. We met on Hinge. She messaged me first and I immediately made plans to meet up and go on a date. She was captivating in every aspect. Calm, logical, beautiful, brilliant and had this awkward, quirky energy to her. My exact cup of tea. Conversation flowed so well. We held hands and that cute shit. She asked me intriguing questions and I in return. We saw each other over 8 dates. I was thinking we were progressing to exclusivity and hopefully later a relationship. I asked to kiss her after our 2nd date. She said no. I asked to kiss her again after 8th date, this last Sunday, again, she said no. She told me she's trying to decide if I'm a friend or a romantic to her. After I dropped her off, made it home and told her I'm looking for something where the feelings are clear and mutual. And that I'm stepping back. I'm proud of myself because former me would have stayed around and begged for her approval. Changed who I was just to get her. I stood 10 toes and cut it off. Ick. Just very proud of me for growing and knowing my worth. Edit, man, I am very appreciative of you, lots nice words, support and encouragement. It means the world to me. I feel the love. Edit 2, there are a lot of comments talking about not asking for a kiss. I've had success with both approaches. Asking and just going on. This case I must have misread her. Thanks again for the support. Stories number 44. Aita, my girlfriend doesn't want me to run the AC because she's cold but it's 80 degrees in the house. We were eating dinner in our bedroom and I turned on the AC unit and while I was eating I noticed it wasn't on and I didn't realize she turned it off and I asked her if it just went off by itself and she said no, I turned it off, I'm cold. Our main thermostat says it's 80 degrees in our house. We're eating hot bowls of spaghetti on top of that and when she told me that I just laughed a little bit and went back to eating my food and she grabbed all of her primary items, phone, food etc. and went to the guest bedroom to eat and turned the AC on when she left. I don't understand why she can't just wear a blanket. I bought her a blanket jacket and I also don't know why she has to be so quick to blow up over little things. I was literally just going to try to get over it but because my reaction wasn't what she wanted she straight up left the room. She is really skinny so I understand if she's colder than me but still I don't see how it's reasonable for her to act like that instead of just wearing the blanket jacket I bought her. I don't think it's reasonable for me to strip down naked to combat the heat and just sit here eating like that. Stories number 45. Should I, 23F, tell my dad, 56M, that his followers can see the inappropriate reels he likes on Instagram? Hi. I've been debating this for a couple days and I'm not sure how to go about it. Whenever I look at my friends' likes, I'll see thirst trap reels of half-naked women my age that my dad has liked. I'm a bit disturbed he's attracted to women my age, but at the end of the day he's a grown man and it's his business. However, he isn't very tech-savvy, so it's very likely he's unaware that this is happening. Especially considering his mother and other children follow him. I have a 12-year-old little sister who doesn't follow him currently, but I'm afraid that one day she might and will be exposed to this content. How should I go about this? Should I say anything to him or drop it? Thanks in advance. Edit, thanks, most of you have been helpful. I told him through text in a polite, non-judgmental way. He was super chill about it and got someone's help to fix the problem. No more advice or weird comments needed, thanks. Stories number 46. Found out after 48 years that my father is a product of rape. DNA tests have been popular on social media lately, and one of my daughters got the whole family to do one for fun. My parents always told me our family line is Korean, from them to my grandparents to their grandparents to their grandparents and so on. My husband is also fully Korean, so I was sure everyone's DNA tests would come back as entirely or almost entirely Korean. Turns out, I'm 23% Japanese. I asked my parents about it, because 23% is a significant amount that points to a recent family member being Japanese. My dad was extremely uncomfortable but eventually told me that the grandfather I grew up with wasn't my biological grandfather, he was the man my grandmother had an arranged marriage with to avoid the shame of having a baby, my father, out of wedlock. Where did this baby come from? One day in 1945, when Korea was a colony of the Japanese Empire, my grandmother, a 15-year-old, was walking home when she was grabbed off the street by a group of colonial police and gang-raped. She got pregnant from it. When her parents found out about the baby, they quickly married her to my grandpa, who was a very poor orphan, because he didn't have the social standing to object to marrying a dishonored girl. I'm not even sure how to process this right now. To know that my biological grandfather is an evil man. I feel so angry because I know those men went right back to Japan after WW2 ended to lead long, happy lives. I feel so sad because I love my grandmother so much. My poor sweet grandma. I knew she was young when she married, but I never thought much about it because my grandpa was quite young too, 18, and that was normal back then for every Korean. This is so much worse. I grew up with her and she was such a cheerful, amazing woman who always comforted me and took care of me when my parents were too busy. And she was so loving to my father, it feels impossible to imagine he was the product of the worst moment of her life. She died 3 years ago and all I can think of is that I never could have even guessed that she carried so much pain her whole life. Stories number 47. Struggling to process something that happened during sex, feeling confused and upset. I've been seeing someone casually, and during sex the other night, he tried to initiate anal without asking. The first time, it was during doggy, and I said no. He asked why, but didn't keep pushing. Still, it made me uncomfortable. Later we kept going in other positions, and then suddenly he did it again without asking. This time it really hurt, and I immediately started crying and pushed him off. He kinda laughed nervously saying it slipped, but I still didn't yell or tell him I was angry. I just kept crying and said I had to go. He didn't seem to understand the impact of what just happened, and I found myself saying I was okay just so I could leave. But the more I sit with it, the more upset I feel. I'm mad and confused, mostly at him, but also at myself. I don't understand why I felt the need to protect him in that moment or why I didn't stand up for myself. Stories number 48. Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. I'm honestly a mess and I don't know what to do, so any advice would be appreciated. I, 27M, and my husband, 37M, have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife, 37F, which he divorced a year before we met. We have a son, 7M, who was adopted after we got married and who I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband, Peter, fake name, is bisexual. I have no problem with it and I had no problem with his ex-wife, Allison, also fake name. I did have a problem with his family as they're a bit homophobic and are always telling Peter he should get back together with Allison. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were at his family's town because it was my son, Jack's, fake name, birthday and we wanted to spend it as family. My mother-in-law decided it would be a good idea to invite Allison, so she arrived in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I stayed quiet. I spent all my time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins at his request. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Allison and Peter weren't there, so I went inside and looked for them around the house. I found them in Peter's old bedroom taking their clothes off. I stood there in shock for a moment, but then I left and went back to celebrating Jack's birthday. Part of me wanted to scream and cry, but I also was in shock and I refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake and opened the presents. People were already leaving when Allison and Peter came back. Peter took me aside and started saying that I shouldn't have cut the cake without him present and it was disrespectful. I stared at him and just said, "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He got quiet, so I took Jack and left the house to go back to the hotel. Once I put Jack in bed and made sure he was asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend and he tried his best to console me. I only calmed down in the morning when I took Jack for breakfast because I didn't want him to see me like that. I'm now watching him play in the park and I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family. I don't want him to know that relationships aren't a happy ever after. Peter has been calling and texting, apologizing for everything, and I'm tempted to forgive him. I'm tempted to just have my family back, and all my friends are saying that it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable and Allison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? I need the advice from people who don't know my husband or me personally. Update: Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. So, we're finishing with the divorce proceedings, but Peter's attitude has given a 180 degrees and I don't know if I'm crazy or what. The last time I posted here, Peter was basically saying that our son was the reason for our divorce and only wanted custody of him to see me. Well, now he's being father of the year. A friend of mine, Dean, fake name, is handling the drops and pickups of Jack so that I don't see Peter. At first he was mad and called me because he thought he and I were dating, then he didn't care. Now, I thought that he would treat Jack badly and I kept a very close on him, asked him questions about his father, how everything was going, etc. Jack told me that he's been acting like the perfect dad. He's nice, he plays with him, helps him, and is completely different from before. I have talked to Peter and he told me he was going to therapy, which I'm happy for, and he has messaged me, apologized, and told me that we should try couples therapy. I declined and he hasn't asked again, but he wants us to meet up at his house tomorrow to discuss everything that happened. He said it was part of his therapy. I haven't gone to therapy, I can't afford it right now, but Jack is. I can't say I don't miss Peter because he was a great partner and husband before everything went down, but I don't trust him after all that happened. So, I don't know what to say to him tomorrow or how to express how I feel about it. Is it wrong to miss him? I mean, this whole thing happened because he slept with someone else and I know that he hasn't seen Allison and won't be seeing her again because she's also done. Should I just move past it? Jack is also saying that he misses the three of us together. He's cried to me about it more times than I can count and asks why I can't forgive his dad. What the hell am I supposed to do? To feel. Update: Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. Advice needed. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your advice and I want to explain some things before the actual update. But thank you for opening my eyes about my situation. Peter and Allison didn't notice me when I saw them. There was music very loud downstairs and they weren't facing the door. I didn't stop them because I was in shock. I just stood there for a moment and I heard my son, so I unconsciously focused on him. I was pretty much in autopilot. Peter didn't come to the hotel with me because I changed to a different one. He did try to follow me but I took a taxi and left. As far as I know, he's staying with his parents and Allison left. We met when I was 20 and he was 30, we started as friends, and we ended up dating. Yes, we're both men and no, I didn't feel manipulated or groomed by him. Those were the most asked things and I did answer some comments, not all. Now on to the update. I did as some of you said and took some tests to discard any STIs or STDs. The results are coming back in a few days, and I will take another one in 3 weeks to be sure. My son is having a sleepover with a friend and I decided to speak with my husband. He came by our house. After a few minutes I texted him. He asked about Jack and I told him where he was, then we sat on the couch and started talking. I started crying after a few minutes and he followed after. I asked some simple questions: when? Why? How many times? Among others, and this is what I could figure out by all the things he said. It happened for the first time when he visited his parents alone 2 years ago. They invited her, they both got drunk, he was feeling lonely as I had been more attention to Jack since we adopted him, and they slept together. Nothing happened again until our son's birthday party. He said his mother pressured him a bit and he caved in. I don't believe he did it for that reason, but I don't know. He said he doesn't love her and I believe him, but it doesn't negate the fact of what he did. After talking for a while, I told him that I wanted a divorce. He started sobbing and begging for another chance, but I told him that I can't give him another chance because I wouldn't be able to trust him again and I don't want that in a relationship. He kept crying and begging for another 30 minutes until I told him that we have to think about Jack and his well-being, that we could stay friends DS and co-parent him. He got mad, really mad. He started yelling that it was all Jack's fault, that we shouldn't have adopted him, that he's the one who's getting between us. I was crying and really scared. I had never seen him this angry. He hit the table and stormed out of the house. I called the house where Jack is staying at and told them if Peter shows up there, they can't open the door. After the little episode, I was scared that Peter would try to hurt Jack. I called my friend again, Thomas, and told him everything that happened. He came by and is staying with me until I'm better. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to go on with the divorce. 2 update. Hi again. Sorry for taking so long to update, but it's been a chaotic week and I'm pretty shaken up, but I'll try to summarize it. My husband has been showing up at my work, following me, and calling me from burner phones. I was afraid he'd go after Jack like many of you said he would, but he didn't. He said a lot of stuff, but I'll try to write the important things. He said that he missed when we were just us, that I stopped paying attention to him when we adopted that Jack, that I wasn't his anymore. He said that he missed how dependent I was on him. I was very insecure when we met, but I started working on my issues when we adopted Jack because I didn't want to be a bad example for him. When we got married, I used to get sick all the time. I was weak and tired, so he would take care of me 24/7. The doctors couldn't tell what was wrong with me and I didn't get better until a bit after we adopted Jack. I guess that dependence, it's what he missed. Yesterday, he followed me to work and started screaming that I was his and that we made vows to stay together. We had to call security and he waited for me next to my car. I panicked and took a taxi home. He keeps messaging me and showing up to our house. I took a few weeks off work to be with Jack, although he's taking this better than me. I made an appointment with a therapist for him, and when the divorce is finalized, I'll go to one myself. I've been debating what to do, so I'll update when something happens. Final update, Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. Hi guys, this is the final update for anyone who is interested. I'm only doing this update to give it some closure and because some people messaged me to ask for it. So here it is. This has been a really difficult time, but I'm almost divorced. I have primary custody of Jack, and I've got a restriction order against Peter and Allison. I'll try to be quick, but a lot happened. So, after I made the post, Peter kept calling and stalking me. I didn't know what to do until I started packing Peter's stuff and I found a box of pictures of me before we met, like 3 or 4 years before we met, while he was still married to Allison. I never knew why they got divorced. He just said it was too painful to talk about, so I never asked. But I swallowed my anger and sent Allison a message to ask her about the pictures, and she told me that they got divorced because she saw him stalking my Facebook several times and found the same box I did. He called it an innocent crush and curiosity, but she thought he was cheating on her and they got divorced. A year later, he met me, but Allison always thought that I was the side piece. I read a few comments saying that I maybe was sick because he was making me sick. I don't know if that's possible. I don't really know. I mean, the illness were bad enough to make me stay in bed, like having a bad cold, but I don't know. I stopped digging. After I found the pictures, I confronted Peter without Jack in the house and he seemed, I don't know, proud. He kept smiling and saying that all he did was for us, that it was love at first sight, and we were destined. He was just making sure it happened. Apparently, we had met before we became friends. I remember meeting him at a party through some friends, but we met before, as teenagers. He and I lived in close by towns and my school made some trips to the towns nearby and we met on one of those trips. We were something like friends, but only for a summer because he went to college and I soon forgot about him, but he found my Facebook, and the story continued. I was horrified, to say the least. He tried to console me and tell me that it was fine, that he did it out of love, and that if only we hadn't adopted Jack, everything would be fine. I was bawling my eyes out. My entire marriage was a lie. He said that he only slept with Allison because he knew that it would get my attention and that we didn't have to go through with the divorce, that I know he loves me and that's it. He promised to be a better dad for Jack if I made more time for him. He told me to quit my job because he earned enough to take care of all of us and that would give me more time with him. I was in shock and then he hugged, calming me down. I admit that for a moment, I allowed him to hold me. I allowed myself to consider his proposal, but I kept thinking about his lies. It wasn't about the cheating, it was the stalking, the lies, the obsession. It creeped me out, so I tried to pull away and tell him I'd go through with the divorce. He refused. He hugged me tighter and screamed that I needed him, that he could protect me, he could take care of me, he could save me, that I was his husband and only his. I was terrified. I slapped him and pulled away, yelling at him to get out of my house. He didn't. He just kept screaming and holding on to me until a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police. I filed a restriction order and been taking care of Jack since. During the divorce proceedings, Peter asked for 50-50 custody, which surprised me because in all this time, he hasn't cared about seeing Jack, but I later found out that it was only because he would get to see me and talk to me regularly. He's been contesting every single thing about the divorce, trying to make it last longer than it has, and it's been working. He offered to give me child support even though we have 50-50 custody, he allowed me to keep the house, and other stuff. So, that's what's been going on in my life. The only happy thing that happened was Halloween. Jack insisted on dressing up as Spider-Man and me dressing up as Tony Stark, so we did, and I took him trick-or-treating. It was the most adorable sight ever, and I knew I made the right choice with him and Peter. I'm sorry for such a long post, but this will probably be the last update. Thank you so much for the advice and for hearing me rant. Stories number 49. Weird things keep happening to me, and my husband's reaction has me skeptical. The other night I was putting my son to sleep and my phone went off. I checked it and it was a photo from a random number. It was a photo of two people kissing. Okay, whatever. Then I looked harder. And there were a couple defining qualities of the male in the photo that reminded me of my husband. But I didn't recognize the woman. I finished getting our baby to bed and walked into the living room to show him. I asked him to clarify what I was looking at, because I was still unsure. He confirmed it. It was him kissing his ex from almost 20 years ago. Ridiculous. I never even responded because of how pathetic it seemed to me. Then too, I was at our local tractor supply store getting some things for my animals, and had to load things into the back of my truck. As I was walking out I made eye contact with a short Hispanic male. As I was putting my belongings away he approached me and tapped my shoulder. I whipped around and asked what? Him, are you Ryan's chick? Me, excuse me. Him, Ryan last name, you're his chick, right? Me, I'm his wife. Him, thought so, and then turns and walks away. I didn't think too much of either of these things. Just seems like weird little happenings. Right? Well, when I told my husband about the picture he was pissed, rightfully. So he looked up the number and it's a burner, surprise surprise. No big deal, right? Well, he became obsessed with finding out who sent it. To the point where it was annoying. I clearly didn't care and he shouldn't either. He eventually kinda calmed down about it and I didn't think of it anymore. Then two happened and he really started to sweat about that one and asked me a lot more questions about the picture and if anything else has happened while I was out either with or without the kids. Which, to be honest, weird shit happens to me all the time. But never really concerning him. But lately I keep being approached about him. I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of overreacting about his response to the situation. But anytime I tell this story people tell me that I'm underreacting and that I need to investigate. Thoughts? Stories number 50. Husband is upset I didn't do anything for Easter. In the 7 years we've lived together I have never done anything for Easter, unless my stepson was to be with us, in which case DH and I together prepared a basket for him and an egg hunt. I'm Jewish, so this holiday isn't something I grew up celebrating, and frankly I'm at the point now where I'm putting in the same effort to his holidays that he puts into mine, which is nothing, except gifts he designates for Hanukkah. This morning he gets up and he's all sulky. He tells me to take the bandage off the dog's foot and redo it, then goes out to the deck for his smoke and coffee. I'm struggling to care for the dog's foot alone, he's not very cooperative, and he's nipping at my hands as I'm trying to unwrap it, clean it, and rewrap it. Yesterday it took two of us to accomplish. So I'm frustrated, and I take the dog out to him and say I can't do this, here's the dog, I have to use the washroom and he's hurting me. Apparently that was the wrong thing to do because now he's screaming at me, telling me I'm abusive and how dare I talk to him this way, and I didn't even do something for Easter, so next Hanukkah I better buy my own presents. Now he says I'm gaslighting him because I was being so rude and mean, but he's just reacting to my disrespect. This man yells and screams at me, accuses me of things I didn't do, doesn't apologize when he realizes he was wrong, slams doors, slams things on the table. And if I'm even the least frustrated and let him know it, that makes me an abusive cunt bitch who needs to get back in line or he's leaving. I'm on my way out. I'm working a plan. Send me strength. I'm so over this. I deserve better. I'm such a fucking idiot for picking this winner. Stories number 51. Aita for slapping my husband, sister, on my wedding day. Hi Charlotte, I'm sorry in advance if the story is lengthy, I'll try to keep it short. My 23F wedding was last Saturday to the love of my love and childhood friend, 23M. A little backstory: my husband and I met when he first came to South Africa back in 2012. We were best friends, and sadly in 2018 his family relocated to USA and we became distant. Sometime last year we reconnected through social media and he proposed through video call and I moved to the States within 3 months. Since wedding traditions varies in Africa, mine had to be a bit different since came to the States before actually getting married, and I was upset by the fact that I was alone for my wedding, but since I've known my in-laws since I was younger they are real sweethearts. Now to the drama. My husband has a sister who is a family friend's daughter. Ever since my arrival Liv, 20F, never liked me and always acted coldly towards me. As long as she wasn't rude or disrespectful, I really didn't mind her and casually met when I would go over to my in-laws. Since my wedding was planned within 4 months, I didn't really know people, so most of my bridal party was the girlfriends of my husband's friends, and Liv happens to date my husband's best friend, so that made her maid of honor. Since my mother-in-law and I were planning most of the things, the girls did not have to help with anything. Now fast forward to the week of my wedding. Liv has been extra clinging to my then fiancé and asking him questions like, "Do you really want to get married to my name? Isn't there more beautiful girls in America?" and one comment asking him to rethink the whole marriage through. It getting on my nerves, but since everything has been paid for and his best friend would have to drop out if we removed her, so I decided to let continue being the wedding party. Now my big day finally comes, and at this point me and the other girls have bonded a bit and we are getting ready, but Liv is nowhere to be seen and her boyfriend is trying to get a hold of her. 10 minutes before the wedding she shows up drunk and yelling insults at me, and she went ahead saying that my fiancé should have married her instead of picking up a African ugly lady, and she's always had a crush on him. I got so furious and slapped her before the other girls pulled her out of the house. We tried to gather our emotions and everything else went without any more issues. So Aita. Stories number 52. Aita for calling my sister irresponsible and refusing to help her. We were raised in an ultra-Christian household where we had to go to church. Girls had to dress extremely modesty. We were homeschooled and all. I left the religion when I was 20 and became more of a deist. 2 of my other siblings left Oswell, but my oldest sister 38F and younger one 29F stayed in the religion. My oldest sister is a fundie. Basically she's even more religious than my parents. She thinks women shouldn't wear pants and that the moon landing was faked and all. She married a husband with similar beliefs and now they have 10 freaking kids together, and I mean 10. I think having that much amount of kids is unethical considering our overpopulation and the climate crisis. I think 3 should be max, but I never really commented much because I knew she'd never listen to me. But my main issue was that she didn't have money to give those kids a comfortable life. Neither her nor her husband is rich, and because of that their kids don't have a good quality of life at all. They rarely ever get to go on any trips or spend individual time with their parents. They last went on a trip 3 years ago, and that was simply to a water park. The kids have barely any privacy and the older kids have to help with the younger ones a lot. The kids also literally have to share their clothes with siblings who can wear them, so they don't really even have their own clothes. There are multiple other issues there, but I don't want to get into too much detail. My sister was recently venting about all this, about how her older kids didn't like her Christian rules or having to share clothes or take care of their younger siblings. She asked me if I can buy her groceries for a few months as they've been having money issues lately. I told her that I would not give her any money and that it was her fault she was in this position. She spent so much time being pregnant, so she couldn't really work that much, meaning she was stuck with a low-paying service job. Her husband makes a lot more, but it still isn't enough to raise 10 kids without relying on welfare. I told her all this and she got really upset and said I was judging her personal choices. But honestly, I do judge her. I've spent time with her kids. They're often neglected and often complain about how they don't have anything compared to their friends and how their rules are so strict. I told my sister she was an irresponsible person for having so many kids despite not being anywhere near enough to raise them properly. My parents are now very mad at me for judging her for not being a degenerate career-oriented person. Stories number 53. Was I too harsh for telling my ex and my husband's toxic family to fuck off when they tried to reconnect after finding out that I am pregnant? I, 29F, was in a relationship for 3 years between the ages of 19 and 22 with my ex-boyfriend, 31M. Towards the ending our relationship was rocky and I felt like I was the only one trying to save it. I wrote a lot about it in my diary. I still write, it's a habit of mine and helps me, and one evening, I went through my diary after I finished writing it until it was full and realized how badly he treated me in the past couple of months. I had a serious conversation with him the next day about it and told him how I truly felt and that I felt like he didn't love me anymore. He kept brushing me off and not putting in any work. A few weeks after that conversation, his behavior suddenly changed almost completely. He gifted me with compliments, bought me flowers, kissed me every chance we got, etc. I was so happy, until I found out through a friend of his that he cheated on me on their boys' night out around 2 weeks ago. Cheating is an immediate deal breaker for me. I'm surely not a perfect person, but if there's one thing I am and always will be, it's loyal. Loyalty is, in my opinion, the most important character trait someone can have, and I will never ever forgive cheating. I don't care the circumstances. Well, he didn't take the breakup lightly. I simply texted him that I knew what happened in and after the bar and that he had 1 week to pick up his stuff from my place and bring me mine. He didn't do it. He kept on begging for another chance, telling me that he loves me to death, etc. I didn't care. After 3 weeks of that drama, my best friend's older brother went to his place to get my stuff. He's like an older brother to me and he's also very intimidating, so. My ex didn't want to give him my stuff at first, but after some talking, he finally gave in. Well, my life moved on, I was heartbroken but finished my degree a few months later. It was only then that one of his friends reached out to me to tell me that he wasn't taking the breakup well and that he started drinking more or less every weekend, which turned into every weekend plus some extra days under the week and so on. He also told me that he dropped out of college and was now working a part-time job as a bartender. He went on and told me that since the breakup, he was having casual hookups almost every weekend, and sometimes even more, and he would usually pick up a girl after his shift, and that he lost all hope in love and true connection. The whole message was a lot longer, but this was years ago and I don't remember exactly every single word he said to me, but it was something like that. Well, originally I didn't plan on responding to this because, why would I care? He was the one who decided to cheat on me and destroy our relationship, so I didn't think that I had the obligation to say anything to that. Well, a couple of weeks later, a different friend reached out, but it was obvious that the two spoke before, because he said that I was being cold, cruel, and heartless for not talking to him and not at least hearing him out and giving him another chance. That was the first time that I responded to a message, because I was so mad and confused. He treated me like garbage for the last couple of months of our relationship, only to then cheat on me. I didn't want to be with someone who could betray me like that. I've always been a firm believer that having strict boundaries will always be good and I will always stick by it. I don't allow cheating and I am glad that I ended the relationship. Fast forward, I was 24 and a friend of mine that I met at my work brought me to a social gathering where I met my now husband, 32M. At first he was very cold and distant, and I'm also a very introverted person. The first conversation we had was in the group setting, where we rarely interacted directly with each other. At some point the topic, family, came up, and I don't even remember exactly what the question was that he got asked, but basically someone asked about his family and he simply said that he was not in contact with any of his family members anymore. The group conversation died down after a while, and at some point, after having some more drinks and warming up a bit more, he approached me and we started chatting privately. At first it was just small talk about who we were, interests, and stuff like that. But honestly, I felt a connection to him from the beginning on, when we started talking privately. The conversation turned personal quicker than it usually does for me, because I'm an introverted person as I said and also a very private person. But for some reason, it felt good to be open to him. Well, he's my now husband, so I guess that my gut feeling was right. Well, I told him about my last relationship, how it ended, and everything like that, and that's when he opened up to me and told me that the reason why he has no contact to his family anymore is because his brother had an affair with his girlfriend, and after he broke up with her, the girlfriend and the brother became a couple, and his family basically told him to come to terms with it, because they both clearly love each other and deserve to be in each other's lives, and that he shouldn't take it too personal because the heart wants what it wants. He told me more details about how the whole story went down and everything that was being said between him and his family. I teared up at some point. I'm not a super emotional person, and I don't cry easily, but something in me stirred when he told me that. I genuinely felt so bad for him. We were talking more and started dating not long after and, well, the rest is history. We got married last year and honestly, my husband is the best person I've ever met in my entire life. A couple of months ago, I got pregnant with our first child and we couldn't be happier. I shared the news of my pregnancy and, well, it reached my ex and my husband's family. I have my ex blocked everywhere. On every social media platform, his number is blocked and everything, and my husband's family is blocked by both him and me. The first message came from his mother, who made a new Instagram account to congratulate us and to tell my husband that she couldn't wait to become a grandmother. My husband didn't see the message first and only discovered it 2 days later. And when I tell you that my husband was so furious, he was shaking, and honestly, I was surprised that he didn't start to cry because of all of that. He didn't respond to his mother at first. He was way too shaken up. And I just let him vent to me, and we spoke about this whole situation. Not even a day after, his brother reached out to him, telling him that the relationship with his ex-girlfriend didn't work out. Because, well, guess what? She cheated on him. What a surprise. He also told him that he would love to reconcile because he missed his older brother, and that mom and dad were speaking about him a lot, and that they were missing him too. Funny that his mother never mentioned that in her message and father didn't even reach out. That's when my husband cracked and cried. I don't know for how long I held him, but I was so furious that these horrible people had the audacity to reach out. Well, that wasn't enough for a day, because the day his brother reached out to him was also the day my ex reached out to me. Basically, he was telling me that he was being so miserable ever since we broke up, and that he still loves me, that there wasn't a day where he didn't love me, that he misses me, blah blah blah. Towards the ending of the message, he said that, although I'm pregnant with another man's child, he would step in and raise that child as his own if I was ready to leave my husband to be with him again. The sheer audacity. I was so furious. I don't think I've ever been this mad before in my entire life. I messaged all of them, my ex and my husband's family, and told all of them to fuck off, to never contact my husband or me again, and that we didn't want any of them near us or our baby, ever. I sent each individual a message. Basically, I said a lot more harsh words, telling all of them that they were all horrible people. The messages for my husband's family were different from the message for my ex, because obviously the situations are different, but basically I told all of them to fuck off, that all of them were horrible and disgusting people who don't know what loyalty means, that they made their own bed and can lie in it, and a lot more. The messages were all pretty long. I also told all of them that they knew exactly what they did, that they made all of their choices. My ex knew how much he was hurting me by mistreating me for months, and he knew exactly what my stance on loyalty is, and he knew what he destroyed when he cheated on me. When I texted my husband's family, I told them that their own son, their flesh and blood, hasn't had any contact to them in almost a decade because of the mistakes they made. They were too busy playing in-laws for their other son and the ex-girlfriend, who is nothing but a rear. All in all, I told all of them that they could lie on their deathbed and I wouldn't care, nor would my husband, that I hated all of them and that I would never allow my child to be around such people, because if that's what family means, then I'm glad my husband and I escaped and made our own family. We have my family, my parents, and my side. I have a pretty big family with lots of aunts and uncles, so my child will grow up with a big family and a lot of people surrounding them. Before I sent the messages, my husband read through all of them, and he was more than happy about what I had to say. He was completely okay with every single thing I had to say. I love my husband so much and I feel so bad that his family tried to insert themselves into his life again. No one seemed to care that his own brother betrayed him like that, and his parents didn't even try to stop him. And now they reached out because why? I'm pregnant. They didn't reach out when we got married or got engaged, moved in together or whatnot. But now that a baby's on the way, suddenly all of them want to be involved again. And my ex, well, I'm surprised he didn't reach out sooner when he still loved me so much, but now he wants to step in and raise another man's child. I really don't care what happens to any of these people. I want my peace. I want my husband's peace and our baby's peace. But some people in my life read the messages I wrote and told me that I was being way too harsh and cruel and should have said it differently. Honestly, I thought about it for a while and I don't think so, but more people come to say that I was being way too cruel and way too harsh, and now I'm questioning everything. Was I too harsh? TLDR. Cheating ex and toxic estranged family from husband want to reconnect after learning that I am pregnant. Update. Was I too harsh for telling my ex and my husband's toxic family to fuck off when they tried to reconnect after finding out that I am pregnant? Before I start this update, I want to thank every single person who took time out of their day and read my super long post and took even more time to respond. I read every single comment and, if I'm not mistaken, answered everyone. You guys made my husband's and my day. I posted on Thursday, April 10th at around 1 or 2 p.m., the time of my country, and had already received many comments when my husband came home from work at around 6. We spent the entire evening until around 2 a.m., discussing your comments and making decisions based on what happened. I also want to thank you all in the name of my husband. He read your supportive comments and actually teared up. I also want to apologize in advance because I know this update will be long. TW. Mention of very sensitive topics. Now, before I jump into the update, I want to post my comment I made on my own post, in which I added a bit more details about my husband's betrayal. I don't know if many of you read it, so I post this comment here. Hey guys. I decided to go into more detail about my husband's family and the fallout after the affair. Maybe this will help more to create perspective. Basically, my husband met his ex through a mutual friend and he liked her for about a year before they became a couple. I mentioned in another comment that my husband's brother is the golden child, which is true, but before the affair happened, my husband and his brother were very close. My husband is 2 years older and the opposite of his brother. He is introvert, calm, shy and can appear cold to those he don't know well. He's more into reading and gaming rather than partying. He's also more serious about relationships and has never had casual hookups. His brother is partying every weekend. He is super extroverted and extra charming if he likes a girl. My husband was always the easy child that always obeyed and did what his parents said, while his brother broke every single rule and never got scolded for it. Well, as I said, husband and brother were close and so my husband told him that he liked this girl. She has darker hair and is chubbier, which is the opposite of girls his brother usually goes for. This is not meant in a body-shaming way, I myself have dark hair and am chubbier. His brother usually always had blonde, like platinum blonde girls who are skinny. His brother had hookups more or less every weekend. But he was the biggest playboy who had no issues breaking girls' heart to get what he wants. For example, he once had a girlfriend, who he would bring home every chance he got. She thought it was a serious relationship, which is why she slept with him, but later found out that he slept with multiple other girls and tried it with her best friend. His parents, and my husband, saw and heard all of that happening, and his parents only said, his life, his rules. Oh. So he can fuck girls left and right, lie to them so he can use them for their body and then toss them away like they mean nothing? No wonder he turned out this way. The older they got, the more my husband distanced himself from his brother because of this behavior, but asked if he had advice on how to talk to girls because, well, his brother is more than experienced. His brother did help him, it worked out, and his brother would then make comments about her body after seeing her. She is chubby, not overweight or anything, but as I said, his type is skinny. That's when my husband started a fight. The brother apologized for his body shaming comments. Well, his brother and girlfriend never had any weird moments together, but after almost 2 years, 22 months, he found a thong of her in his brother's suitcase. You ask why he even looked in his suitcase? His brother, the stupid idiot he is, although I believe he wanted my husband to find the thong, lended himself some clothes from my husband that he wanted to wash right away. His brother went on a friend's trip for 5 days with his friends, and his girlfriend was sick plus studying, so they didn't see each other. They would message every day. No, they did not share locations. Well, turns out they were together away fucking 1 week. My husband confronted them both. His ex said that she always wanted to know how good his brother is in bed because a friend of hers slept with him. He slept with so many girls, I don't even know if he knows that she's a friend of one of his girls, but well, that's when she started saying certain things to his brother. Although he thought she looked like a fat pig, his words, not mine, decided to fuck her from then on. They were not remorseful. When my husband told his parents, they said that they see love in his brother's eyes for the first time. What the actual fuck? But yes, that's unfortunately true. Almost 2 years down the drain and a broken relationship with brother and parents. Later came out that the parents knew about the affair that was already going on for 5 months. My husband found that out through a friend of hers who cut her off afterwards. They even paid for the getaway. My husband didn't tell them to choose a side, but told them that if they would support this relationship he would walk away. There was a lot of nasty name calling, especially from his mother, who ended the fight by saying that my husband wasn't good enough for her anyway and that he should be grateful she even gave him 2 years. He walked away, and that was almost 10 years ago. Yup. His family is a bunch of a-holes. Now, on to the update. On Saturday, we picked up my brother, 26M, and his wife, 26F, from the airport. They were 3 weeks away for their honeymoon. My brother and I always had a close relationship, and my brother is like a brother to my husband. Sometimes I am the third wheel when we're together, lol. We didn't want to tell them what happened immediately. They needed to come back and relax and blah, but my brother could sense something was off with my husband. After a private heart-to-heart on the way to the car, I was talking to my SAL. My husband cried, then apologized for crying. My brother then scolded him for apologizing, and we went to our house and told them what happened. They were furious. My SAL tried to comfort me. I cried out of anger because of my ex and husband's family, and my brother and husband went outside to calm down and smoke like half a package of Indian cigarettes. My husband doesn't smoke usually, he was just so upset. We continued to talk for the rest of the day, and my brother and SAL stayed overnight. Many of you commented that we should overthink the relationship we have to the relatives who said we were too harsh and should have reacted differently. We did that. These relatives don't know much about my husband's family. They do know that he's NC because of the affair, but don't know any details. Honestly, I think the reason is enough to understand the decision plus our reaction on why we reacted like that, but we decided to give them a chance to save the sinking boat by explaining more thoroughly. On Friday morning, we texted them, asking if they had time the next week for a dinner together. Also, the relatives I am referring to are my mother's 3 cousins and their mother. The father is sadly already deceased. We agreed on a dinner on Monday, but we didn't say that the reason is to discuss the situation. We just asked if they wanted to and when they have time. Fast forward to Monday, we met at a new restaurant that opened nearby, and honestly the food was a complete catastrophe, but that's besides the point. When we arrived, the 4 of them were already there. I should mention that it's pretty unusual for us 6 to meet. We do see each other regularly, but it's usually with the whole family, at least my parents as well. When we sat down and ordered cocktails, for me alcohol-free of course, my husband immediately spoke up and told them why we wanted to talk to them personally. My husband went on and explained exactly what happened between him and his family. Not only the betrayal, but also how his brother was always the golden child, how he loved his brother and still struggles to understand how he could betray him like that. At some point he teared up, which made me so upset on his behalf because I felt like he shouldn't have to do this to justify our reaction to them reaching out. That's when one of my mother's cousins said that maybe it's time to let it go and that maybe they are reaching out again because they changed and would want another chance. That's when I completely lost my shit. I asked her if that's the case, why now? We literally got married last year, but I assume almost 9 years at that point wasn't enough time for change. Or when we got engaged, moved in together, etc. I did not scream because we were in the restaurant, but my voice was clearly mad and shaken because my husband was shaken up having to explain himself so much, and she had the audacity to say that even after all that, they deserve another chance. The others stayed silent, but her mother then screamed. This was so embarrassing because she was so loud in that little restaurant. Good thing it was bad because I can never go back there, telling my husband that he should control his fucking wife better, and then told him to make sure I don't eat so much anymore. I always had issues with my body, which she knows. I gained a little bit of weight due to my pregnancy. Thank you for your kind words. That's when my husband lost it and called her an ugly fat cow and to never talk to me like that again. We paid for our food and left, and I told them that I wasn't interested in having them in my life any longer. I then cried and we drove straight to my parents and told them what happened. I called my brother on the way and he came with SIL and we all sat together and talked. My husband cried so much that my brother started to cry and we just sat all together, and my father happily had mint chocolate chip ice cream for afterwards. My parents and brother decided to cut contact with them as well, also being speechless at their behavior. My SIL even brought me homemade cookies. It's just regular chocolate chip cookies, but what she puts in them when I eat them, I always think it's the best thing I ever had. However, I refused and didn't even finish my ice cream because of her comment, and then my husband tried to tell me she's wrong, but it struck a nerve, and then my husband panicked. I had an ED for this exact reason. I got bullied for my weight, and when I was with my ex and we had intimacy, he often told me to lose weight. And was scared this triggered it. We went home and I felt horrible. Not just mentally but also physically. Things took a turn for worse. I have PCOS and I got pregnant naturally and we didn't even try. I simply stopped taking birth control around a year ago and was starting to prepare my body for pregnancy. We wanted to start to try at the beginning of next year. I am already 6 months pregnant. We didn't think it would work so easy. Due to my PCOS, I basically have to win over the world, become president 6 times and build a new pyramid on my own in order to lose like 20 pounds, but breathing in the wrong direction makes me gain like 40 pounds. Thumbs up, medium light skin tone. I am not overweight, but I took medication for help, birth control and metformin, and I eat very mindful. But I am chubby for sure. Well, I say this because in that night, I started feeling dizzy and felt super off, and I was unbelievably scared for our baby. Since I found out I am pregnant, I had this irrational fear that I will have a miscarriage or something like that, so my husband immediately rushed me to the ER. Everything is fine, our baby is perfectly healthy and so am I was just being very dramatic because I was scared. The doctor explained how stress can affect someone who's pregnant and was very understanding. We went home and I felt a lot better, but not my husband. He cried and apologized and I was like, why are you apologizing? They should. Things cooled off for exactly 24 hours. Wednesday morning, my husband received an Instagram message from his father. I realized his mother blocked me, his brother didn't. He read my message but didn't respond. Well, his father told him that they had to take some time to get over how he called me a horse smiling face with heart eyes, spoke to his wife, and that he can't believe my husband didn't stick up for them. He explained that he understood my husband needed some time away, as if a whole decade is just some time away, but that it's time to become a family again. He wrote a bit more, but it was all just a bunch of stupidity and excuses. I asked my husband if I should text him. He didn't want to give them the satisfaction of reaching out personally, but told me to not worry and he'll handle it. I don't know what exactly my husband wrote back, but he made it clear that his family will never bother us again. He also spoke with my father because he mentioned some legal stuff in his message just to see if my father approves. As for my ex, he blocked me, good for me I guess, and I don't think he'll reach out again. I was feeling pretty low still and I had to do some stuff on Thursday, like doctor's appointment, grocery shopping, etc. I also met my SIL for a water. I don't drink coffee, because she wanted to check in on me. I came home at around 4 p.m., expecting a dirty house I need to clean, dinner I need to make, and my husband still at work, but no. My perfect husband didn't go to work but instead went and bought my favorite snacks, some personal items like body wash and stuff, and basically made me a big care basket with also makeup, and a new Slytherin hoodie. I'm a big HP fan. He also made chocolate-covered strawberries himself and stocked up on mint chocolate chip ice cream. He then told me how much he loved me and a lot more, not wanting to go into detail here, but he spoke for about 15 minutes. By the end we were both ugly crying. We ended up ordering food, and fell asleep on the couch watching HP and the Order of the Phoenix. Nothing more has happened in the last 2 days. We made sure to look after each other, and we had Easter brunch with my parents and brother and SIL earlier today, and it was great. Now I'm back home, my husband is giving me a massage and later we watch a rom-com. Life is good.